I'm gay, and they do not speak for me.
I'm bisexual, and they do not speak for me.
I'm gay, and they do not speak for me.
I am a lesbian, and they do not speak for me.
I'm bisexual, and they do not speak for me.
I'm gay.
I'm gay.
And they do not speak for me.
Do not speak for me.
I'm bisexual.
I am gay.
And they don't speak for me.
They do not speak for me.
I'm gay and
they do not speak for me.
I'm bisexual.
I am bisexual
and they don't
speak for me.
I'm bisexual.
I'm bi.
I am gay and they do not speak for me.
And they do not speak for me.
I'm gay and they do not speak for me.
I'm a lesbian and they do not speak for me.
I'm bisexual and they don't speak for me. They will not divide us.
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 They will not. They will not divide us.
They will not divide us.
And they certainly won't divide us.
They will not divide us.
Okay, remember how a little while ago we sort of reached the apex of a Blitler arc with Kanye West pledging allegiance to Adolf Hitler? Only a slight exaggeration. You had that really funny run-up where over the course of a couple of years, Kanye West stopped taking his meds, and then he started getting more right-wing, including appearing with Donald Trump, and then, like, every right member was praising him, and then, like, for some reason, somehow, coincidentally, he became a Nazi, and all of the right-wing, like, kind of alternated between defending him and, like, quietly distancing themselves from him. Just a weird sort of progression there, how being more right-wing and aligning with the Republicans, then very short jump over to just being a Nazi. It was very curious stuff. Then, of course, he watched 21 Jump Street, and it made him, a good citizen of the world again. Jonah Hill saved Yedolf from, eternal Hitlerdom. Unfortunately, they never made a 22 Jump Street, so he's back at it again. We got a wacky yay video for you. The only lead up to this that I'm aware of, apart from the fact... Wait, they did? Well, then why haven't they shown it to him? Quick! What are you doing? All right, well, while we're waiting for someone to show him 22 Jump Street, the only lead up to this that I'm aware of is Ye asked Nicki Minaj to contribute to the music that he's doing right now, and she said no. But also Nicki Minaj went on Kai Cenat's stream and sat in a big throne, so I guess it was perceived as an insult for her to turn down Kanye while also doing something as, like, I guess, like, low as appearing on a Twitch stream. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. Anyway, there was a listening party held for Ye's music, and
With the LV show, these niggas is colonizers. The French own 80% of the banks in Africa. That's why I just met with MBS, head of Saudi. We don't have to bow to this shit, nigga. Okay, it's 60 million of us in America, 60 million Jews in the world. 50% of our deaths is abortion. 25% of us go to prison. Raise one hand if you don't know one nigga in prison, one nigga got locked up, and one nigga poor. Raise your hand if you don't know one person got abortion. Now I'll tell you, if we was in a Jewish month on Friday with no...
All right. I'm gonna break this down about as good as I can here. So, a kind of conspiratorial belief that Black Hebrew Israelites and Blitler types occasionally bring up is the idea that abortion was legalized and popularized by eugenicist Jews who wanted to use it to cull the black population. And to this day, black people have more abortions per capita than white people do. Of course, the reason black people have per capita more abortions than white people isn't because of the nefarious Jew. It's because poverty correlates in many cases with poor family planning. It's as simple as that. Black people are poorer. That means there's more unwanted children. That means there's more abortions. I mean, there's other more complicated, like, broader socioeconomic stuff that leads into it, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Yeah. How dumb do you have to be to not understand that? Well, Ye is a musical genius, I've been told. I don't know enough about music to really deny it. Definitely not a socioeconomic genius, I gotta say. Not on the ball on that one. Vosh, a bunch of eugenics advocates did want to make abortion more legal so black populations would be held in check, but that was evangelical whites, not Jews. Also, literally everything in society 100 years ago was done by eugenicist evangelical white people. Like that, like every social institution that could be tied back to like any point in American history at some point was designed and founded by somebody who hated black people. That, you know, that's like holistic, you know what I mean? Like you did you know this medical practice / institution that goes back 120 years was created by eugenicists? Everyone was a eugenicist back then. That's not surprising. But anyway, you know, it gets blown out and misinterpreted, and then they treat it like that. Like even if that was the case back then, that then means that the current motivations for legalizing abortion are to cull the black population. You know, yeah. Anyway. One thing at a time, lads.
Somebody raise their hands. So wait a second. But wait a second. Who make the hospitals though? Who got the hospitals? These are Zionists, nigga. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Jesus Christ, Hitler, yay. Third party, sponsor that. Bring the sponsorships to that. Because there's gonna be some that feel exactly like me.
So yeah, when he says Zionist, he means Jews, of course. Pretty much as direct of an example of dog whistling that you can get. It's not even dog whistling, really. He's just saying it interchangeably. So yeah, Jesus Christ, Adolf Hitler, Kanye West, 2024. That was his pitch right there.
These are Zionists. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Jesus Christ, Hitler, yay. Third party, sponsor that.
Third party. That's what he's saying. That's the...
Bring the sponsorships to that. Because there's going to be some that feel exactly like me. I don't give a I'm 7. I don't give a about life or death. I get visitation with my kids. I ain't got no say so. Walk around like look like soccer players. They don't even know. They don't even know they dad, the kid. They see me come play one on nobody. They still feel you though.
Big up, by the way, to the person who pulled out their phone and started recording this. This Yes Jules person just went live on Insta because they happened to be at the listening party for the music, and I guess he started doing this rant. They just pulled their phone out. I mean, hell yeah.
They'll film me, but they trying to program them. The head of Louis Vuitton, Bernard Arnault, you. Alexander Arnault, you. Francois Pinault, you. Dimna, you. Balenciaga, Cedric.
Buy the Yeezy Pods, buy the Yeezy Pods.
Yeah, and Adidas, nigga.
I'm pretty sure that he's saying f you to all the people who dropped sponsorships with him or otherwise came out against him when he started openly praising Hitler. I don't know what he said. It sounded like penis to me too. I don't know. I can only investigate this so much. There's not like a perfect transcript, you know?
Nigga, don't say me shit. Nigga, I'm by myself in this motherfucking room, nigga.
Was it Adidas? He said Adidas? Okay, he f***ed up the pronunciation there. That's not just my ear, okay? That motherfucker left out a couple consonants, all right?
Everybody shut the f*** up. Hey, shut the f*** up. Let me tell you something right now. Just the fact that you ain't listening to me, it's ain't none of y'all with me. I'm by myself, because ain't none of y'all stand up for me. Ain't nobody stop. It's shut up. Be quiet before you get exiled. Like what I'm saying.
Exiled the way Kanye's people were from the desert by the Pharaoh. All right.
Nobody with me. Everybody here having on a check, having them here like ha ha, laughing at jokes, laughing at the raps and shit. Nigga, I made these beats in my mama's basement. I drew these motherfuckers since I was in 7th grade. Cause when I asked niggas step up, not one stepped up. Not one stepped up. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
So what we're looking at right here is one of the reasons why I don't view the Kanye West shit with as much, I guess. First of all, a lot of people get upset when they see this because they respected him. Again, this is my superpower. I know so little about music. It's all like it's water on wax paper, you know? He acts a fool, doesn't mean anything to me. He's very obviously mentally ill. Like, he's attacking the people at his listening party for not aligning with his, like, Hitlerite movement or whatever. He is a huge liability to the right wing, you know? The thing is, this is one of the reasons why, like, it's not just having, like, random right-wing lunatics is not necessarily a benefit to the right. He acts like this, you know? You see how he acts, the way he talks to people. This guy can't form a political coalition, you know? He can't keep the mask on. He can't keep himself together. At the most he can do is galvanize some people, you know, or be like a big, like, loud sightseeing, you know, like a big, I don't know, thing to rubberneck at, pull people over, but shut up about music? Can't think of a witty response. What else can I get at? There we go. You know, he's not really capable of, I guess, acting in the way that far-right people have to do to kind of, like, quietly and intelligently bring people over. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I mean, it is sad, obviously. He's very mentally ill. But I know a lot of mentally ill people, and most mentally ill people aren't also Hitlerites. Most Hitlerites online that you see online, most of the people that you see on Twitter, whose Twitter ats are like Cunny69, 88, and their bio is split between like white nationalism and lolicon hentai, a lot of those people are also mentally ill. I know those people didn't write Graduation, but I'm just saying, like, don't get tricked into believing that you know, Hitlerite shit gets like excused by being mentally ill. There's a lot of mentally ill people who have not gone down the road he has gone down.
I'm saying none of the famous Mav Carter sold me out. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said y'all saw me ain't see my kids. All y'all rich got y'all kids in that Zionist school. See Eric Kenyon.
I wonder what he means by Zionist. It's actually very funny to me that he's now saying Zionist, because this can mean only one of two things, because he used to just say Jewish, 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 okay? It can either mean that he's very impressionable and all of the use of the term Zionist has kind of coded onto his brain, the use of that term over the use of the term Jewish, or he's trying to be clever and like piggyback off of the wave of anti-Zionist advocacy with regards to what's going down in the Gaza Strip. He's trying to like dog whistle, but he's not very good at it because it's not enough to just replace Jewish with Zionist. You also have to be like intelligent with how you dog whistle. It sounds to me like he's trying to play it clever, basically, which comes across as a lot more evil and sinister than him just randomly blurting out Jewish. Does that make sense? Him having no self-control and just blurting out Nazi shit comes across as a lot less manipulative than him having just enough self-control to dog whistle while doing it. You know? Like, eh.
My daughter ripped up the motherfucking couches in the house to be able to be with me right now. Y'all don't know what's going on, for real. Where y'all TikToking and all that shit. Y'all put up with all that shit.
Low feel bad for Kim K for once when Ye posted stuff. Oh, you should. Yeah, this guy 100% like stalked and harassed her. Yeah, like he's one of the most popular people on earth. And he was like directing an ungodly amount of hate towards her when it's very clear this guy should not be around children, you know?
I don't give a I'm in Pop. I'm in Vegas. Like Pop, my daughter had the Tupac fucking t-shirt. So I'm saying, witness this shit. Visit this shit. But I don't believe in nobody but me. I'm looking for y'all. Don't gotta say we with you. You're not with me. No one's with me because no one's really with me. It's just me and God. That's what I'm saying. And I'm still alive.
Let's go.
And I'm still alive. You ain't post. You ain't really. You ain't post. When I couldn't see my kids, y'all ain't post. Y'all ain't stop the Adidas shit. Y'all let Adidas crash the rich all time.
Y'all know I did.
Adidas was begging. Wait a second. I put up one tweet, and then Ari Emanuel put, "Oh, we got to drop this," and all niggas just watch. The only that had the Trump hat. The only nigga that went and got them.
Also, I feel like he shouldn't have the N-word pass. This guy is more racist than most white racists. You know what I mean? I feel like when he says the N-word, you know, I feel like it'd be like me saying the N-word, but a lot worse, actually, because I'm not literally Hitler. What I'm saying is I should be saying the N-word instead of him. What I'm saying is I should say the N-word. And he shouldn't. Right? I see people in chat agreeing. Thank you.
Billions. The only breaking through all kinds of ideas in fashion. I've been called a so many times for tight jeans. You know what I'm saying? I got from Chicago that I take care of that still trying to sell me. Trying to say I can't go to my GD. I'm in a way bigger than you. You niggas don't take care of me.
Right now, your thing is between you and God.
Who you, shut up. Who you think, no, hold on. Who you think the old man called?
You.
When we put Drake on stage, who the...
Sorry, I'm reading an article on it because I want to keep up with the times, you know? On the album's eponymous lead single released last month, Kanye West raps, quote, "How am I anti-Semitic? I just f***ed the Jewish bitch. I just f***ed Scooter's bitch," referencing Jewish music mogul Scooter Braun. So I guess he was pretty real for that one. I don't really have a counter argument to that one, I guess.
The old man called?
You.
You know what I'm saying?
Because God put you in position.
Nigga, just because I had a car, everybody.
You're the biggest vessel.
That's what I'm trying to say to you niggas.
This is just a person having a mental breakdown and they're just clapping and going along with this BS. Well, yeah, well, this is pretty common with people who are really powerful and wealthy and stuff, but like most of the people who are around him are just trying to leech off of him like as he falls apart. And there's not much else they can do, really. Like, it's not like any of the people here could like speak out to what he's saying and challenge him or whatever. You know, if you were at the Kanye West new album listening party, what are you going to do other than record? Like, dude doesn't have a real friend in the world. And honestly, why should he? Does he deserve a friend? Like, it sounds harsh, but like, holy shit, look at how he acts. Like, are people obligated at all times, no matter what, to have like the people around them be like, have their interest in mind? Whose interest does he have in mind, you know? Again, this isn't just an indictment of mental illness. Most mentally ill people aren't ultra-billionaires who then use their platform to start promoting Nazi rhetoric. It's not like, I guess I just, yeah, I don't know, you know? It's a corpse with flies buzzing all around it.
Right now. This is what y'all been waiting for. Drake, this is what you've been waiting for. Jay-Z, this is what you've been waiting for. Kim, this is what you've been waiting for. All you... Look, let me tell you something. This is the way the world works.
God is using him right now.
Okay, be quiet for a second. Don't scream for a second.
I love you, but okay.
No, you got it. Get over.
Hey, sorry. Come down, please.
God runs the world. Then under that, you got...
I can't even follow his train of thought. No, it's incoherent. He's just mentally ill.
1,000-year-old families, Medici. Under that, you have the Vatican, the Pope. Under that, you have the financial groups that control all your shit. BlackRock, Vanguard. After that...
Did that woman just say, oh, the Rothschilds?
You have the financial groups that control all your shit. BlackRock, Vanguard. After that...
Are the Rothschilds controlled by the Pope? What universe of... Wait, are the Jews under the Pope or are the Pope under the Jews? Why is the Pope involved in this? What? This doesn't even make any sense. Is this like a post-Vatican II thing? What? This is some like Deus Ex tier, every conspiracy is real at once thing. This is all completely incoherent. Yeah, is the Pope Jewish? Is that true?
After that, you have Putin. You have Trump. You have all this shit. And after that, you got what all this shit is.
It's popular in Nazi circles to call Catholics secret Jews too. Yeah, a lot of Nazis don't like the Vatican II because during the Vatican II, the Pope officially ruled that Jews were not responsible for the death of Christ. So that was after World War II, by the way. After World War II, they made that decision. So before they made that decision, and during World War II, the official position of the Catholic Church was that Jews as a group were responsible for the death of Christ. And a lot of Nazis thought that them changing that after the war was like Jews controlling the Vatican. I don't know why, if that's the case, the Jews wouldn't have controlled them to do that before.
It's entertainment, Hollywood. Take that, run that back, run it in schools. I'm gonna give y'all one last thing before I go. When I first put the tweet up, I was dealing with a divorce lawyer, and I explained to the lawyer what my issue was.
Is there anything the Jews aren't in control of? I just think it's really, really interesting how the Jews apparently control everything, but also somehow, despite being in control of everything, they didn't do anything to stop most like Christian Europeans from hating them, and they allowed the Vatican, which they've controlled for 1,000 years, to say they were officially at fault for Jesus' death. And also, for some reason, the Jews control the left wing and use it to destroy the Western world, except the left wing also hates Israel. It's very, very confusing to me about how ultimate like how enormous and overwhelming the power of the Jews are in every instance, except for all the times they really should have exercised that power, you know?
And his response was to me, if you keep up this anti-Semitic rhetoric, then you won't see your kids. A nigga I knew said I couldn't have an opinion or I wouldn't see my kids.
And it's also like, this is one of those, again, he can't keep the mask on things. Literally, like, can you imagine a more direct indication of a person's insanity than them screeching about how their divorce lawyer said that unless they stop with the Nazi shit, they couldn't see their kids? This is like something you'd read in like a Florida Man story, you know? This is one for the history books, you know? Like famous musician, you know, accosted by divorce lawyer, told they can't see kids until they stop Nazi rhetoric. They get angry at this, you know? Yeah, it's like GTA character shit. It's just so straightforward. It's so revealing.
Y'all know who y'all playing with? This is a vessel of God. He gonna burn all your shit down. I swear. I knew these was trying to make surviving surviving this way. That's why I sent it up while I was still in the high schools. Bill Cosby couldn't do shit by the time they got him.
This is why fake religious conversions, I don't know if his is fake necessarily. He's too mentally ill to really like crack into, you know. But this is one of the reasons why people touch into religious rhetoric. It's because they like the idea. Everything feels unright to them. Everything feels sort of like confusing and juxtaposed against them, and the world is aligned against them. So the belief that like divine fire purifying everyone that you dislike. There's a reason why like crazy people and religious or like authoritarians gravitate towards this kind of language. Do you think an actual real friend would have stopped Kanye like 10 years ago? I don't know. But also probably not. A lot of this seems to be brain chemistry stuff. If by friend you mean someone who crams meds down his throat.
R. Kelly couldn't do shit by the time they got him. That's why I had to send it up. Because the same niggas that made him rich, the same niggas doing the documentary. And Cootie, you, because everybody saw that third episode. That's what the whole shit was about.
Period.
Me selling opioids. I'm not even bipolar and there are signs of autism from the accident.
It's like Spider-Man getting bitten by the radioactive spider, you know? Got autism from the accident.
They're gonna hit me with a medication, have us selling opioids for them. They made me the face of bipolar. Okay, nigga, Big Pharma, where my royalties?
All right, that's good.
Drugs you done sold off of the idea of Ye being bipolar.
Don't say shit right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They come here so
I think I pretty much wrapped up
Still talking.
everything I want to say.
Who are you? I'm just saying they.
Yeah, take out.
Yeah, come on, you have to go. Sorry, come on. Ready?
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. Come on.
Nigga, take.
They can make him.
Sorry. You can only record the crazy man for so long before he lunges to get your Lunchables. That's the Kanye West Five Nights at Freddy's jump scare, you know? Like, yeah, and he sort of like lunges at you to get your phone. She could have drawn less attention to herself. Well, she and most of the people there are probably like on a spectrum of idiots to sycophants, right? Like a lot of the people there obviously just want to be in the shadow of power, or to go to like a cool party they can tell their friends about, or something they can brag about, their various like blogs, or like their leeches basically. And I don't even think there's necessarily anything wrong with leeching off Kanye, by the way. Like, Kanye is a monster. I don't care if it's like a product of mental illness. Nazi, don't give a shit. So, like, if they just want to go over and, like, I don't know, have some, like, nice, like, alcohol at his expense, I don't, like, whatever. You could really tell, by the way, like, the energy in that room must have been insanely uncomfortable. A multi-minute rant of him just standing in the middle, complaining about his divorce lawyer and how people had the audacity to tell him he had to be less anti-Semitic, and the only times people really made noise was to tell other people to shh so they could continue to record and listen to the rant, you know? And people weren't really agreeing with anything he said. He'd punctuate a bunch of statements with like, no one was there with me, and then what would people say? Nothing. They wouldn't say anything, because no one there is with him, really. They're there with him physically, but they're not there with him ideologically, which is good, because they shouldn't be, because he's a Nazi.
Kanye West, known for his controversial ways, caused quite a stir at his 46th birthday party. The event, held on June 10th, featured a star-studded guest list. However, it was the extravagant sushi spread that drew attention. The twist? The sushi was served on naked women, a practice known as neo-timery, or body sushi. Fans took to Twitter to express their outrage, condemning the display as misogynistic and disrespectful. Adding fuel to the fire, West's 9-year-old daughter North was present at the event. This incident adds to West's long history history of controversial actions which have damaged his professional relationships in the past.
A lot of what he said is too incoherent to really dig into. Apart from the fact, I guess, it's pretty clear that nothing about him ideologically has changed. He switched from Jewish to Zionist, either because he's deliberately dog whistling. A lot of what he said is too incoherent to really dig into. Apart from the fact, I guess, it's pretty clear that nothing about him ideologically has changed. He switched from Jewish to Zionist, either because he's deliberately dog whistling or because he's so manipulable by what he sees in the news that he's just like shifting his rhetoric naturally without thinking about it. His new album is going to come out soon. I have heard people talk about the first song of the album that has already come out, and I have heard people be very critical of it.
Did I do that? Let's keep zoning, let's keep folding, let's keep moaning. Girl, I know that it ain't over. In the morning, you'll be running back to me. Heart was broken, I am frozen.
I have heard people be very critical of it. I don't know enough about music to look at that and to, like, comment on it. Just look at the lyrics. I mean, I'm not a music. Excited for Melon's review of it. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be pretty funny, if nothing else.
Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd, talking about a thing that people call me very often, all the time, on the internet, and that is Melon. The origin of the Melon nickname is much less endearing than that, and goes back, I am sorry to say, almost 10 freaking years, back to 2013. In the summer of that year, there was one review in particular that I was dreading doing, not because going into it I thought I was going to hate the record or have too much of a negative take on it or anything like that, but this particular artist, an electronic music producer who goes by the name of Zombie, he had a bit of a reputation for getting into spats with people and having lots of very heated Twitter screeds against either writers or other musicians too. And yeah, he had one of the most popular and talked about records of that week. I decided to review the album for myself. If I remember correctly, I gave it a 5. I was not super crazy about it, thought it was a little bloated all over the place, not a very tight or concise experience. And of course, it did not take too long for him to hop onto Twitter and start completely freaking flaming me. Here is a bit of the exchange here, which actually featured way more tweets than what you were seeing in this screenshot from the time at which this happened. As you can see, this is like old Twitter back when this came out. This is like how it used to look at one point. And this whole diatribe that you're just seeing a part of here ended with Zombie referring to me as a melon, in an insulting way, mind you. There wasn't any specificity as to why he was referring to me in that way. Was it my head? Was it some other quality about me that he thought was melon-like that caused him to throw that out there? We don't know.
Hey buddy, did you hear the news? It's track reviews.
Okay. All right. Kanye, the weird anti-Semitic guy who was at one time a rapper, who after his weird multi-right-wing platform idiot tour has been trying to soft launch, you know, a return to music. Hey, look at me. I'm like performing with Travis Scott. Oh, hey, look at me. I'm going to do a collab album with Ty Dolla $ign, but the alleged release date for that came and went. Hey, look at me. I made a weird outside production studio in the desert in Saudi Arabia. Dude, who cares? Nothing good is getting produced in that tent. There was like a weird leak, a TikTok going around of like somebody allegedly filming Kanye, like doing some edits and stuff on a track from the tent. And there were some lyrics that, frankly, in that clip sounded just stupid beyond words. And I didn't really jump on it or say anything about it because I was like, no way, this can't be real. This can't actually be real. Like that, like maybe my faith in humanity is too high. Well, it seems like whatever that snippet was, whatever that track was that he was working on, is now beginning to see the light of day. It is, I guess, called Vultures and has been played live on Chicago's Power 92. So we essentially have a radio recording with a lot of drops, but it is still, you know, the core of the song for the most part. Ty Dolla $ign is in the mix. That makes sense. Lil Durk is on the track as well, really making this a whole Chicago affair. Let's give it a spin. Let's see what it's got. Kanye, Vultures. All right, I'm done. This is trash. This is trash. This is garbage. This is like, what the hell are we doing here? The only good thing about the entire track are the kind of eerie synthesizers and the Durk verse. He sounds alive. He sounds vibrant. He sounds engaged on the track. I mean, it's a kind of average appearance from him overall, but it's certainly better than everything else surrounding it. I mean, if there's anything good about this track, it's not the sleepy ass intro at the start of this cut. It's not Ty Dolla $ign's vocal mix sounding ass on the very back end of the track. He sounds like he's singing into a goddamn, gamer headset microphone. Meanwhile, Kanye himself sounds more asleep than anybody on the song, which I guess is part and parcel with a lot of the verses that have been laid into his most recent projects sounding thrown together, unfinished, and the flop to bop ratio as far as like the bars on this verse, terrible. One about how he can't remember who he effed last night because he's got Alzheimer's. Another about how, it's like not Columbine, but they came in with the trenches. Tacky, ugly, stupid. And then finally, of course, because he can't shut up about this issue because he is a clown at this point. How can I be like anti-Semitic? I had sex with a Jewish bitch. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, I know that there have been a lot of people in the Kanye camp who are like, still holding out hope that like he's going to turn a leaf or he's going to start putting out better music, or for whatever reason they seem to think that like with Kanye right now there's nothing wrong and everything's like all hunky-dory, everything's fine, it's all good. Yeah, I'm just not really at that level of delusion, I'm sorry. Because yeah, since Kanye's weird little right-wing turn, his nosedive, there has been a lot of discussion of me around the internet, in my subreddit, in my comments, like, oh, Anthony's not going to give Kanye a fair shake now. Oh, he's just virtue signaling. Kanye is still very clearly not in an okay place, and it's driving him to make trash and have nothing to write about of substance. I don't know. Keep defending him at this point if you want. You're the one who's going to have to listen to this crap more than one time. If you truly, honestly feel the way that you actually feel, that's you putting yourself through hell, honestly. Overall, this sucks. Hopefully this is all we hear of this track, but considering how stupid it is and where Kanye is at currently, no doubt we'll hear a finished version on some project at some point, which will maybe just be like a slightly better produced version of the same. I'm going to leave it there.
Excited for Melon's review of it? Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be pretty funny if nothing else. Have you heard Graduation? No? But again, we're not really talking about music. We're talking about him. If the album is really good, it might bring more people on to supporting him. Unfortunately, like, this is really dumb and irrational, but unfortunately, there are a lot of people who genuinely don't give a fuck if he's a Nazi and will just defend him because he's their idol. Like, you saw all the people in that Instagram live stream saying, dude, turn the video off. The only reason they would want that is because he's their idol and they want all of his crazy Nazi rambling to be in secret because they just don't want the illusion to be torn apart, which is pathetic, of course. Do you think the fact that he's a Nazi taints his music? I think that it's possible for people who are like crazy right-wing to make good art, but it's very difficult for them to. However, he's already a good artist. So like he could make good art while being a Nazi, but he should still be shunned for being a Nazi. If Hitler would have stayed an artist, would he be like Kanye? Yes. Hitler's hip-hop albums demonstrated real potential. His rejection from the Academy sent him down a dark road. But, if he had had the ability to continue to bust out, fat rhymes like before, maybe things could have gone down differently, Huge thing is that he based his new album art off a black metal band that was led by an actual neo-Nazi. Is that true? Vultures? Kanye West and T.Y. Dolla $ign's Vultures album cover linked to Nazism. From Hip Hop DX News. Okay. The artwork piece in the 1830s, known as Adolf Hitler's favorite artist, whose work used to promote Nazi ideology. Vultures artwork seems to be inspired by Norwegian black metal band Burzum with... Oh, where's the album art? Noting Friedrich's status favors art of Adolf Hitler. More further observed, the cover's typography was remnant of that used by Burzum, black metal band. And this is the thing. This is the Nazi band they're saying it's like. And yeah, it looks like pretty much the same typography. Though to be fair, don't a lot of like Gothic pieces of art use this kind of font? I don't know if that's necessarily anything. It's probably safe to assume that it was a deliberate Nazi association, though, because all Kanye West talks about is the Jews, right? Like, he can't shut the f up about Hitler shit, you know? It's not like, oh man, you're reading too much into it. You would have to explain to me that anything he does wasn't inspired by Nazis, you know? Like, he won't shut up about it. It's the only thing he cares about. So, yeah. He was also wearing a German military jacket. Damn, if only the photos were embedded in the album. That's not a German military jacket. That's a puffer jacket. It's the shirt that has a coat of arms on it. Federal coat of arms in Germany. This is Bundesstadler. This is not necessarily a Nazi symbol. However, he probably thought it was when he put it on. Again, like, in his mind, everything is about Jews and Hitler. Okay? So even if he's probably wearing these shoes because somebody convinced him that these were Hitler's shoes. Okay, it's safe to assume that anything he does or says is in some way like a product of that. You know, what the high fashion ass place is this pic from? Oh, I don't know. This is drippy as shit though. The girl that's with him in this photo has run back to her family after being controlled by him. Really? This chick like was being abused by him and had to flee or something? The girl looks like a baby chicken. Yeah, she does. Is that true? I'm asking. That's his wife? I didn't know he remarried. So what's her name? So I can investigate that claim? Okay, nobody in chat's give me any useful information. So I'm just going to move on. Daily Mail shit. Okay, no, nothing. Never mind. Whatever. Not that invested in the personal life of Blitler.
What's up? I have testicles in my stomach, that's what. And I'm going to explain to you how that works. I'm intersex and I was born with a condition called androgen insensitivity syndrome. So I was born an XY chromosome. I know, right? That's usually the guy's chromosome. Because I am completely insensitive to androgen, which is the male dominant hormone, my body could not form properly as a male. And for those of you who don't know, we all start off the same as a default baby, and then if you're XY, usually you grow as a man, and then if you're XX chromosome, you usually grow as a woman. But I stayed as the default baby, which is that feminine baby that we all started off as. But because my body didn't have the right tools to develop as a female, because I was an XY chromosome, there was no chance I was going to develop as a female. I just stayed in the default baby mode, and so I didn't grow a penis, unfortunately, and my testicles never descended. So now I have testicles in my stomach, which is interesting, and I'm a biological male.
This is Joe Rogan with Evan Hafer. He is the founder of Black Rifle Coffee. This is one of the oldest stories in the book, which is the reason why people have reactionary positions is because the liberals did not have reactionary positions. And you can hear this not just on the Joe Rogan show. I've talked many times about the time, like years ago, I was on with Whitman, Christy Todd Whitman, on Chris Hayes' weekend show, when she was talking about the reason why Republicans don't believe in climate change is because liberals were so obnoxious about it.
So snobbish about it.
They were just so like, oh, climate change exists, and it just like forced us to not believe in climate change. Here's Joe Rogan with his version of this story.
Yeah.
Like maybe that thing is like maybe there's a little bit of a culty.
Just a little. They're discussing how bad it is right before this. How bad it is that you can't say what you want in comedy, and now they discuss talking about how you basically need to kill communism. So,
yeah, you can't say what you want in comedy. I mean, he's got the biggest podcast that exists, and the idea that he can't say whatever he wants, even Spotify, the company that, incidentally, they just laid off.
Yeah.
1,500 people, Spotify. And I think Rogan's contract is probably coming up very soon. It's going to be interesting to see what they do about this. It's a real corporation, and they publish. They don't just publish, they produce Joe Rogan's show. By produce, I mean, they pay for it. And it's exclusive.
Like maybe that thing is like maybe there's a little bit of a culty aspect to that thing. And here's a question: do you think we're doing the same thing overseas? Are we doing the same sort of social media campaigns?
Ooh.
We must be. I asked Mike Baker, and he fucking gave me the runaround.
I think here's my honest. Everybody that starts a conversation by saying here's my honest opinion. But my assessment in this is I think that we have forfeited portions of foreign service to the left in the context of wokeism, politically correct, like the act of maintaining your sovereignty in the context of military and then economically is not politically correct. You can't broker in that rhetoric and then implement a strategic long-term goals and objectives that are going to meet and exceed what we have to do to maintain America and ultimately America's power overseas if you believe in it. You just can't, because it's not politically correct. If you believe that all nations are created, equal and all political ideologies are equal, that's just wrong. It's not. I think communism is a dog shit ideology. I think that it should have been flushed down the international toilet a long time ago.
We just haven't done it good yet.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out this time, Evan.
Yeah, and
You're so close-minded.
You can't dabble in it. It's so dangerous to start dabbling in these things because it's a failed ideology.
Now, as far as the Soviet Union is concerned, I didn't happen to talk about it tonight, but I've written about this topic. I haven't just made the charge. I've written about it and explained why I think it's true. And it doesn't bother me if I happen to agree with the mainstream media on this. Trotsky, to pick somebody who you remember, once he was charged in the 1930s with agreeing with the fascists in his condemnation of the Soviet Union. And he pointed out that his critique was to be true. He wasn't going to abandon it if somebody else happened to say it for different reasons. So the question is about the Soviet Union, and particularly about Lenin. So what was Leninism? Well, here we have to look at the facts. Now, you look at the facts, I think here's what you find. Lenin was a right-wing deviation of the socialist movement, and he was so regarded. He was regarded as that by the Marxists, by the mainstream Marxists. We've forgotten who the mainstream Marxists were because they lost, and you only remember the guys who won. But if you go back to that period, the mainstream Marxists were people like, for example, Anton Pannekoek, who was head of education for the Marxist movement, and he's one of the people who Lenin later denounced as an infantile leftist. But he was one of the leading intellectuals of the actual Marxist movement. Rosa Luxemburg was another mainstream Marxist, and there were others. And they were very critical. In fact, Trotsky was one up until 1917. They were all very critical of Leninism because of this, what they regarded as this opportunistic vanguardism. The idea that the radical intelligentsia were going to exploit popular movements to seize state power and then to use that state power to whip the population into the society that they chose. Now, that was quite inconsistent with Marxism as understood by the mainstream sort of, I'd say, left Marxists. From this point of view, Bolshevism was a right-wing deviation. Trotsky made the same points up till 1917. Now, when Lenin came back to Russia in April 1917, he took a different line, quite a different line from the one he'd had in the past. If you take a look at Lenin's work, it shifted character in April 17. In April 1917, it became kind of libertarian. That's when he came out with the April Theses, and that's when he wrote State and Democracy. It came out a year later, but that's when it was written. And these were State and Revolution. These were basically libertarian works. They were very much more in the mainstream of sort of left libertarian socialism, from sort of this range that goes from anarchism over to left Marxism of the Pannekoek-Luxemburg variety. And he talked about Soviets and the need for a workers' organization and so on. And in fact, came really closer to what the essence of socialism was always understood to be. After all, the core of socialism was understood to be workers' control over production. That was the core. That's where you begin with. Then you go on to other things. But the beginning is control by the workers over production. That's where it begins. Then Lenin took power in October 1917 in what's called a revolution, but in my view ought to be called a coup. And things followed that coup, or revolution, if you want to call it that. One of the things that followed it was the immediate moves to destroy the Soviets and the factory councils. Those were some of the first moves of Lenin and Trotsky after they took, Trotsky joined at that point, after they took state power. In fact, if you look at what Lenin wrote after that period, or did, you'll find it's a reversion to the earlier position. This sort of left deviation is that, a deviation. You could ask why. In my view, it was just opportunistic. He knew that in order to gain power, he was going to have to go along with the popular currents that were developing, which were in fact spontaneous and libertarian and socialist, as most popular movements have been, in fact, since the 17th century. And being an astute politician, which he was, he sort of went along with that and talked the line that the people wanted to hear. It's just like when an American politician goes somewhere and his pollsters tell him, say so-and-so, and he says it, doesn't mean he believes it. And I think Lenin was doing the same thing without polls. In any event, whatever your interpretation is, when he took power, he reverted to the former vanguardism and moved at once to eliminate the organs of workers' control. Now that meant he was moving to destroy socialism, if socialism has as its core workers' control over production. The Soviets and the factory councils were instruments of workers' control. And same, you could say they're defective instruments, it's never worked out better and so on, yeah, no doubt. But they were the instruments that had been developed in the course of popular struggle to implement basically workers' control, and those were the first things to go. By early 1918, it's still really before the Civil War set in, Lenin's view was pretty clearly expressed. It was the view that both he and Trotsky took the position that what you need is what Trotsky called a labor army, which is submissive to the control of a single leader. He said modern progress and development and socialism requires that the mass of the population subordinate themselves to a single leader in a disciplined workforce. Well, that has absolutely nothing to do with socialism. In fact, it's the exact opposite of it, and was criticized for that by in a spirit of some solidarity, because the revolutionary forces were still operative. He was criticized for that by people like Rosa Luxemburg and by Pannekoek and Gorter and the other mainstream sort of left Marxists, and I think they were right. It seems to me that, and then it just goes on from there. I mean, Lenin reconstructed the czarist systems of oppression often more efficiently, Cheka, KGB, and other techniques of control and oppression. I think from that point on, there was nothing remotely like socialism in the Soviet Union. I think it was, in fact, in my view, was a precursor of later forms of totalitarianism. Now, you could. That's what I think happened, and I think that's what you discover if you look at the facts. Now, why is it called socialism? Well, I think I think that's complicated, and we should look at it. There's the Soviet Union calls it socialism, and after they took control of they did take control pretty soon of most of the international socialist movement, because primarily of the prestige of having created something sort of socialism. Incidentally, just a side remark, Lenin remained, despite it all, a sort of an orthodox Marxist in many respects. And as an orthodox Marxist, he didn't believe that it was possible to have socialism in the Soviet Union. This was supposed to be up to his death, or shortly before his death, when he was still writing, speaking lucidly. He kept the view that the Soviet revolution was a holding action. They were just going to hold things in place until the real revolution took place in Germany, because the revolution, according to Marxist doctrine, was going to take place in the most advanced sector of modern industrial capitalism, for all the reasons that you read about in Marx. That's where the revolution had to take place. Obviously, that wasn't the Soviet Union, so there couldn't be socialism there. It was just some kind of holding action. And that presumably gave some sort of justification for eliminating the socialist institutions. I don't think it's a real justification, but probably that was the internal justification. And again, in taking that view, he was in accord with the mainstream Marxist tradition. Well, after that comes the view that all of this is socialism. And why should the communist parties take that view? I think the reason is because they wanted to sort of exploit the moral force of socialism, which was quite real. It's kind of hard to remember that today, but at that time it was very real. This was regarded as a, as a progressive moral force, and by associating their own destruction of socialism with the aura of socialism, they hoped to gain credit in the working classes and other progressive sectors. Now, the West also identified that with socialism, and they did it for the opposite reason. They wanted to associate socialism with the brutality of the Russian state that undermined socialism. So what you had is that the two major world propaganda agencies, for their own and quite different reasons, were claiming that this is socialism, that this destruction of socialism is socialism. And it's very hard to break out of the control of the world's two major propaganda agencies when they agree. They agreed for different reasons, but they basically agreed, and that then became doctrine and dogma. Well, I think people should ask whether that's true. Take a look back and see whether the moves that Lenin took and that Trotsky supported him in taking and that they both advocated had anything to do with socialism as it was understood by, say, in the Marxist tradition or in the left libertarian tradition. And I think the answer that you'll discover when you look at that is that they didn't. In fact, this was a destruction of socialist institutions. Well, this may be true or it may be false, but if it's true, and I think the evidence pretty strongly supports it, then I don't see any reason why we shouldn't express that fact. And I certainly don't think that we should be deterred in expressing this fact if other people who's, fascists or whatever, happen to condemn the Soviet Union, just for the same reasons that Trotsky mentioned in the 1930s.
We should recognize what I think is true. I've written about it plenty myself, that the Bolshevik Revolution, so-called revolution, it was really a coup, was really a counter-revolution, which placed state power in the hands of a highly authoritarian, anti-socialist group, which within a couple of months had destroyed the factory councils, had destroyed the Soviets, had dismissed the Constituent Assembly because they knew they were going to lose, and had eliminated every popular movement, and had done exactly what Trotsky said, turned the country into a labor army under the control of the maximal leader. That was mid-1918. I mean, since then, there hasn't been a shred of socialism in the Soviet Union. Now, of course, they called it socialism, but they also called it democracy. They were people's democracies, the purest form of democracy. They were socialism. The left, the West, the big propaganda system in the world, of course, just laughed at the democracy part, but it loved the socialism part, because that's a way to defame socialism. So if you think that the fall of the Soviet Union is a blow to socialism, you ought to also think on the same grounds that it's a blow to democracy. After all, they call themselves democracies too, so why isn't it a blow to democracy? Makes as much sense. It's only when it gets filtered through the Western propaganda system that it's not a blow to democracy, but it is a blow to socialism. But there's absolutely no reason to play that game, whether you play it in dissent or in The Nation or on the right or anywhere else. Expose it for the fraud that it is.
His comment that the ideology is flawed.
What ideology? The ideology of totalitarianism? Yeah, it's deeply flawed. I mean, they were the initial modern totalitarians. It's not has nothing to do with socialism. They destroyed socialism within weeks. They didn't wait. By 1918, it was finished. And they knew it, like it's not a secret. They knew it. I mean, in fact, Lenin, as soon as he sort of got grips of things after, he said, he moved to what he called state capitalism, which is what it was. It had nothing to do with socialism. Socialism, I mean, you can argue about there's no point arguing what the word means, but what it always meant at the core was that producers take control of production, working people take control of production, what's sometimes called industrial democracy. That was the absolute core of it. Well, there was more socialism in Germany, in Western Europe, than there was in Russia. Russia's about the most anti-socialist place you can imagine since 1918. Had wage labor, had super exploitation, had no element of workers' control or involvement or participation. And that's just pure, what's it got to do with socialism? It's the exact opposite on every point. As I say, the West liked to call that socialism while laughing at the fact that they called themselves Democrats. But that's for purely propaganda reasons. I mean, unless you're committed to being part of the Western propaganda system, there's nothing to say about that issue of dissent except to laugh.
Now, as far as socialism is concerned, that term has been so evacuated of content over the last century that it's hard even to use. I mean, the Soviet Union, for example, was called a socialist society, and it was called that by the two major propaganda operations in the world, the US, the Western one, and the Soviet one. They both called it socialism for opposite reasons. The West called it socialism in order to defame socialism by associating it with this miserable tyranny. The Soviet Union called it socialism in order to gain whatever, to benefit from the moral appeal that true socialism had among large parts of the general world population. But this was about as remote from socialism as you can imagine. I mean, the core notion of at least traditional socialism is that what you mentioned, that working people have to be in control of production and communities have to be in control of their own lives and so on. And this goes, the Soviet Union was the exact opposite of that. Working people had no control over anything. They were virtual slaves. And the collapse of the Soviet Union is in fact a small victory for socialism, in my opinion. It eliminated one of the major barriers to it and should have been recognized as such. But the term has been, as I said, become so meaningless that it's hard even to use. If we use it in the traditional sense, which you brought up, that goes straight back in American history. You read the working class press in the mid-19th century, press published by artisans and what were called factory girls, young women from the farms working in the textile mills in eastern Massachusetts, which was the center of beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Their press was calling for, they said their theme was that those who work in the mills ought to own them. Wage labor, which was called wage slavery, was regarded by most Americans as not very different from slavery. Even the Republican Party regarded wage labor as just at best a preliminary to free labor, but intolerable because it's a kind of servitude. A large part of the northern population fighting the Civil War was fighting under that banner. This goes straight through the 20th century, the idea that people should be in control of their own destinies and lives, including the institutions in which they work, the communities in which they live, and so on. Call it what name you want, but that's traditional socialism. And there are today attempts to describe a kind of a detailed vision of the future based on these notions. The most extensive and detailed one I know is by Michael Albert at ZNet, which you mentioned. It's participatory economics. And there are other such proposals. But I think this is deeply ingrained in people's understanding and consciousness and barely below the surface. In fact, it's a call for essentially extension of democracy to the industrial sphere and to communities as well. We should also bear in mind that the leading American social philosopher John Dewey, who's as mainstream as apple pie. His main work was concentrated on democracy. He pointed out over and over again that as long as we have what he called industrial feudalism, that is a tyrannical control, private power controlling production commerce, democracy will be very limited. We have to move to what he called industrial democracy if we hope to have significant democracy. As for politics, his position was that until that happens, politics will be the shadow cast over society by big business. And I think most of the population recognizes that and accepts it.
Right. It's so dangerous to start dabbling in these things because it's a failed ideology. You have to flush it down the toilet. It has to go away forever. And then you have to evolve past that at a certain point. But when you've co-opted our academic institutions and you've indoctrinated generations.
All right, pause it for 1 second. I mean, what's fascinating is about, he's talking about dabbling.
A lot of other companies.
These guys really dabble. Because they don't really know what they're talking about.
Well, that's the thing is, I don't know. This guy's like an Army Ranger or some shit before he started slinging coffee. He might know about Operation Condor and how many people were killed. But just for people who don't know, I think a little bit of context of like when he says we lost a certain level of, or we're too politically correct or woke now to do what needs to be done to maintain our position as like a world power. Like, let's just remind people, this is Abby Martin and Vincent Bevins. Just a couple minutes from Vincent Bevins talking about the Jakarta method with regards to what actually happened in this period that he's talking about with America canceling or throwing communism in the toilet.
This anti-communist extermination program spanned 45 years to at least 22 countries. Talk about how U.S. policy can really be seen extending through all of these countries, from Brazil to Vietnam, and why this should all be seen kind of in the same lens.
Right, yeah, so my book is really about the intentional mass murder of leftists or people that are accused of being leftists. And as I said, I found that this happened in at least 22 cases in the Cold War, from beginning, I believe, 1954 in Guatemala is the first case that we have good evidence of until the end of the 20th century. And I think that these must be seen as interconnected, because if you look at the particular tactics that are used, the ways that this happens across the Cold War, you see an accumulation of techniques and tricks and even rhetorical devices across the entire Cold War. So one thing will work here, and then they'll apply that tactic there. One thing will not work here, they'll apply that there. Across those 22 countries, there is a variation in the level of the involvement of the United States. You have active assistance in the case of Indonesia, where there was material assistance offered, and then eventually the United States government passed lists of people to the Indonesian military for them to be killed. In other countries, the assistance was more indirect. It was made clear behind the scenes to a particular government that we will sort of look the other way if you do what you need to do to deal with the local threat. Now,
all right, so the point being here that when they're talking about wokeism, they're saying don't assassinate people. Don't create a model which you apply where your role in the context of that model varies from case study to case, to case.
Yeah.
What you do, but the model is the same. Annihilate, like literally kill all these people.
I mean, yeah.
And like what does communism do that is worse than killing all these people?
My question, my proposed title for this is Joe Rogan smart enough to know he's endorsing death squads again? Because that's the thing. Let's say let them go a little bit more. I think it becomes even clearer.
And then you have to evolve past that at a certain point. But when you've co-opted our academic institutions and you've indoctrinated generations of the academic elite, and then they've worked their way into foreign service, and they've worked their way into the intelligence apparatus, now they're going out and they're not willing to implement at the same degree that they might have been able to in the 1960s and 70s in the context of zero-sum game. We are here to win. That's what we do. And you got to play by the rules of nature, which is things will die. And when I say that, ideologies have to die. Like they do when they're failed.
All right, just to be also clear, he's not even like, it's not even limiting it to the Jakarta method.
Today is when
he's basically saying that coups in Allende and Mossadegh and bombing of Cambodia, I mean, all of these things had to be done, and things die. Things die.
It just happens. Ideologies, or maybe the people that hold those ideologies.
Exactly. You need to go out and get it done. And of course, this guy seemingly has no concept of like what the impetus for these reasons were doing. It wasn't necessarily like an ideology as much as it was specific people's interest in terms of money more often than not. And the blowback that came from these things.
Ideologies have to die, like they do. When they're failed and they're bad for freedom, which I tend to believe in radical freedom, when they're bad for individual liberty, when they're bad for freedom,
not for workers,
they gotta fucking die.
And if you're going to have
death also
communism,
bad
you're going to need
for
someone
individual
to enforce that.
freedom lovers.
Yeah, sorry, go back here because Joe Rogan again. Like we paper over what was needed to basically enforce the world that this guy wants to live in, and then Joe Rogan says like, actually, it's them that want to do the tyranny.
Individual liberty, when they're bad for freedom, they gotta fucking die.
And if you're going to have communism, you're going to need someone to enforce that.
It only is implemented through tyranny. That's it.
Isn't that wild?
Yes.
That no one wants to do that math. They don't want to get to the 10th problem.
Right.
They want to stop at problem number 7 and go, well, it's really important that we share wealth, and the economic disparity is wrong, and we should all have money from the state and equal money.
Okay, just a little bit of quick input here from Best from the Left headquarters. It should be noted that socialists en masse do not say that everybody should have equal money, as Joe Rogan is alleging here. In fact, what most socialists tend to agree upon wanting is a guaranteed minimum level for everybody. And that minimum level is bare survival. So the basic assertion is that everybody should have housing and enough food and just the basic amenities of life. Nothing fancy, not guaranteed all kinds of, fancy gadgets and toys and cars and all of that stuff, but the basic necessities of life are guaranteed. So nobody should be homeless and nobody should be going hungry. This is the baseline that most socialists today argue for. Nobody's saying everybody should get the same amount of money, or that people who are particularly talented or innovative should not be rewarded for that. That is not what modern democratic socialism advocates. But these lunatic right-wingers absolutely insist on misrepresenting what the left is advocating for, because they need to create a straw man. Because if the average person on the right understood what the left really wants, they might actually switch sides, because the left is for livable old age pension and security. The left is, again, for making sure nobody is homeless or goes without food. The left is for universal health care and all of these sort of basic necessities of life. They do not. Okay, and anytime you hear anybody suggesting that the left or socialists want everybody to get the exact same amount of everything, it's nonsense. That is not what most socialists want. So just get that out of your head. And don't let Joe Rogan and his malicious guest here deceive you. If you want to talk about a failed system, try looking at all the homeless people that are out there right now, largely because of escalating real estate prices and rent. People can't afford to live anymore. So they're in greater and greater numbers are being forced out of their homes and into the streets, where they're starving to death or freezing to death in the winter. That is a failed system. Modern democratic socialism says, no, we need to guarantee the minimum. We don't want people freezing to death in the winter because they're homeless. We don't want people going without, at least a sustenance level of food. Okay? That's called having empathy and being a decent human being. The whole everybody gets everything and it's equal across the board is nonsense. Modern socialism is about being a decent human being. It's about having empathy. It is about understanding the old aphorism, there but for the grace of God go I. We guarantee a minimum for everybody, and people can work their way up from there. We don't need a system that is so callous and so indifferent to the varieties of human experience that we will let people freeze to death or go without shelter or food.
And we should all share, and billionaires shouldn't exist. And okay, how do you make that happen? Right. How do you take the money from the billionaires? Who do you give it to? Who gets to decide who gets what? Do we vote on where the money goes? What about those people that are
we should just say that he is now complaining about things like taxation and wealth distribution, and people who would maybe go on shows and say there shouldn't be billionaires existing. I don't know who that might be.
Who might that have been?
Where he heard that idea. But he is saying this in follow-up to a guy basically saying, like, we need to assassinate, we need to kill, we need to bomb, we need to blow up, we need to starve, we need to embargo, we need to do all these things to maintain freedom. And then he's saying, like,
you want to tax us, bro.
Everybody thinks about, like, oh, we need to have some type of a taxation scheme, but who's going to enforce that? I mean, again, I remind you that we did that in this country right after dropping the atomic bomb on people, essentially. We had the highest marginal tax rate was 90%, 90 cents.
Someone's got to enforce that.
Of every dollar that you made over what in today's dollars would be $3 million was subject to taxation. If you want to come back to me on effective tax, because people get around 50%. We never get close to 50% effective tax rates on a federal level in this country. So let's bring that in first, if that's where your problem is. But the tax rate was 90 cents on every dollar. And the jackbooted thugs who...
you got to enforce that.
Who enforced that were all red-blooded capitalist Americans.
Right. How do you take the money from the billionaires? Who do you give it to? Who gets to decide who gets what? Do we vote on where the money goes? What about those people that are under 85 IQ? Are they voting on this too? Right. They're going to vote for free Twinkies for everybody. free Twinkies and Mountain Dew. Yeah. I mean, if you just had, should all the billionaires spend their money on free Twinkies and Mountain Dew? And you just left it to people who aren't billionaires to vote for them. Yeah, fuck those people. They're just going to vote it in. Should we take 90% of the money from people like Bill Gates and Warren Buffett? Fuck yeah, yes. I don't need that money. Click. There's a lot of people that'll tell you that. Yeah. They don't want, like, if you're starting off, you're playing a game, like the game's capitalism. If you're starting off and you're 20 years old, 21 years old, and you don't make any money and you're out there trying to find your purpose in life, and then you see someone who's been playing this game for 50 years and he's flying around in a fucking private jet and getting driven around in a Rolls Royce, you're like, fuck that guy. Yeah. Fuck him. He's too far ahead of the game. But you're playing that game too. If you're working and you're getting paid for your work, you're playing a game. You might be playing a very low level of the game, but you're playing the game called capitalism. And the more work you do,
we should also
money,
say there's another name for that game. It's also called survival. I mean, because you got to pay for your rent and your food and this and that. We don't have an option to play that game. Who voted for that? Some 85 IQ Twinkie loving guy voted for the capitalism. I mean, everything he's saying is just absolute garbage. It's the most thoughtless stuff one could imagine. And he's saying this in response. He doesn't even realize the guy across the table for him has just been advocating literally mass murder, if it's necessary, to maintain some notion of an amorphous, undefined radical freedom that exists outside of, like, human beings being alive. right? Like, you can have radical freedom and also kill a ton of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't somehow inhibit radical freedom.
The elitism here too, where he's saying we're going to have people vote on this stuff. Like, the thing that people want, like generally the American public want, is like healthcare and like affordable rent and stuff like that. They're not saying, hey, let's tax Bill Gates so I can have Twinkies and Mountain Dew.
Right.
And that's really revealing that that's where Joe's head goes. Just a little bit more.
Yeah, the more effort you put in to figure out how to get more money, the more money you'll get if you're successful. And if you're not successful, you'll at least get lessons on how to do it wrong. And hopefully you're going to figure that out, because many people have, including that guy in the fucking Bentley, including that guy in the private jet. He's just 70 years old. And he's been playing this fucking game for 45 goddamn years hard. You know, he knows what he's doing. And
if I say fuck a lot,
like
maybe people won't notice that I'm actually just an elitist who's like trying to justify the millions of dollars I have.
It's like that guy.
The idea.
The guy in the Bentley. He's not really. He's not like red faced and bald. Is he, Joe?
That he shouldn't have that money. Okay, what are you gonna do? You gonna take it from him? Who's gonna take it from him? The government?
IRS.
Yeah,
armed
IRS.
people? Yeah. What are you doing? Because that's the only way he's gonna give it up.
It's the only way.
That's the only way you get to enforce people redistributing wealth.
Pause it. Now, what's amazing about this is we redistribute wealth every single day through taxation.
Exactly. That's not like a communism thing.
He's saying, like, the only way you're going to get them to give up money, and it is the case, that in every single country in the world, except for what maybe, like, what is it, Somalia? I don't know, and maybe any other,
the case, maybe.
A couple of failed other nations, taxation is enforced by the government having a monopoly of power. This is like basic stuff. It's the way that it works. Even in Texas, that's how it is. Yes, the government will arrest you if you do not pay your taxes. It's a slightly oversimplification and probably doesn't happen as much as I would like. But that is the fact. But again, he's talking about like how outrageous this concept where you would have armed people come to take a billionaire's money because they're going to tax it. And he is saying this in reaction to a guy who has just said, for our interests, and as if it's divorced from taking money, right? Like, it's just for the sake of freedom, we need to go.
Freedom for their resources.
And kill the people that we killed in the 60s and the 70s. We need to get involved in the Vietnams. We need to get involved in the Koreas wars. We need to get involved in the coups in Argentina. We need to get involved in the killings in Indonesia. Like, we need to do this to protect
correct
freedom.
Across everybody, including people that have done nothing. Like, and now you're going to get a lot of angry people, and you're going to get a lot of resentment. You know what pops out of something like that, those ideas? Far right ideologies, super far right. That's the rebound to this radical leftism. You know, Steve Bannon was talking about that. He was talking about Trump, like the people that are afraid of Trump. They're like, he's a moderate. He's a moderate in this movement. And believe me, if you guys fuck with him more, someone else is going to come along that's going to resonate with these people that realize they're getting fucked. And it's going to be just like what's happening in Argentina, where this guy gets elected and he's like, fuck everything. Everything's got to go. Everything's got to go.
Yeah,
and
I mean, we can stop it it
because
there.
people
I mean,
are very excited about that. There's a
yeah, I think
so. So they're saying the people that are going to get fucked are the people who are going to get taxed. The wealthy people? Is it revolt by the wealthy people?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like what's going on in Malay. I don't think is. I think probably more of a result of the long-term effects of the type of assassination programs that we talked about from like the 70s and 80s, and also like Peronism was basically a sort of a more centrist with like some labor but also right-wing stuff. It wasn't a far left government, and now Malay's coming in and he's just doing what the IMF wants. Yeah.
Sam, you were asking, where the hell Tucker's been, right? I mean, he has really kind of fallen off the map. This Twitter show is a pretty big misstep.
What is happening with that Twitter show? Are they getting many views? Do we have any sense?
Well,
we can't.
It's hard to know exactly because I can't remember who pointed this out on Twitter, but there's the two feeds. There's the For You, which is algorithmically enhanced with all your favorite anti-Semites added into your feed, and then there's the Your Actual Feed, which is supposed to be people you are just following, and nonetheless, Tucker's show keeps appearing into the people you're only following feed, and as we know, just appearing in the feed is enough for Twitter to count it as a view.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing. Views really doesn't. I mean, it's absurd on Twitter. Like you scroll through everything. I don't watch video on Twitter.
Exactly. So they're fudging those numbers. I mean, Binder and others have done analyses of those numbers, just essentially confirming what we suspect. And so,
but what's funny is, like, despite that, you can't trust the numbers. You can trust the trend, and the trend has been going down.
Exactly. And I mean, you can also trust it in your analysis of the guess, where like he started off hot. He had the Trump interview. I mean, hot, for his standards. Trump interviewed that counter program with the first Republican debate. And then things just started to keep getting more and more.
Now we have to have the guy who says he had a gay affair with Obama.
Right. That's the one I was thinking of, dredging up that debunked story from like 15 years ago. And now this guy.
Yeah, Alex Jones is like the last refuge for a show that is struggling with its numbers. Here he is with Tucker Carlson.
And Trump being the candidates. You see the system, the media going after Biden, and he deserves it, but they were covering it up until now. Now they're covering the laptop. Now they're covering attack on the dog. Now they're covering, all of his senility, all the corruption, the Chinese spies.
Attacking a dog. What a pig he is. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I was told that by Secret Service and by people that, let's just say, work with them. And I'm going to leave it at that. But I actually have a contact for you. I'd like to be able to hear it from them. But when this is over, I'll let you actually hear it from yourself. I think they'll tell you off record.
I trust you.
But yeah, he is completely out of his mind. He wanders around for the entire 2.5 years. It's getting worse. Naked in the White House. In the middle of the night, doesn't know who he is. They have to give him a bunch of drugs, a bunch of amphetamines in the morning. Then they've got to drug him. At night, sometimes he'll like be out for the morning for a while, and then comes back out at night for a ball. That's when there's a real problem.
He is on drugs. I have established that, and I know someone who witnessed it. I'm not guessing at this. I know someone personally who witnessed him taking amphetamines. And this was during the 2020 election.
So how's this going to? That's huge. I know you don't play games. You've been.
No, I don't play games with this. I'll just say he's a makeup artist.
Well, no, you said the NFL.
So what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say the both two guys talking about how they have secret information they can't share with the viewer, and this is supposed to be independent media. Like, oh yeah, I can tell you off there, but I mean, I guess that you could say we're protecting my source. I'm gonna protect my source.
Makeup artist, and so Biden sits down and says, "Time for my amphetamines."
Yeah, jack me up, Jack. I don't doubt that. Like, I mean, the presidents take drugs. I mean, they take like a cocktail of drugs.
Who else takes drugs?
Yeah,
people
Trump.
take drugs.
Oh, yeah, true.
Like, I mean, the amount of pills that your average 80-year-old is taking, I just find it very hard to believe.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they were giving him amphetamines or something. I don't know if it would be amphetamines or whatever it is. I wouldn't be shocked by this, but the idea that like this is secret information because a makeup artist, Biden's going to announce like, I'm taking amphetamines now, right before I get my hair done.
Again, like this is like the most uninteresting way to critique a president, because like this is fairly common. Nixon had, if you search Nixon Dilantin, there's accusations that he abused that. Reagan himself was senile in the White House. There are reporters who are like, yeah, I looked at him and there's like nobody there. But again, like, how about we focus on the actual policies?
Well, I mean, JFK, look up like his relationship with his Dr. Feelgood, and like he would take
back
things.
Pain medication that led to some other side effects. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Is there more? Can we hear more about? I mean, the Biden walking around naked. I find that disturbing.
NSA spying on me, high level, and then a month later they went, yes, we're spying on Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, I know.
So you don't make stuff up. And so what I'm saying here is Biden's a liability for him, Trump's a liability. What do? They have a right-winger, they'll claim, assassinate Biden, and they'll have a left-winger assassinate Trump. That then gets the country even in more of a fight against each other. And then they put in Gavin Newsom, and somebody like Mike Pence or who knows, but I really think the next 13 months is the most critical time, not just in American history, but world history. Because if they can bring down America, they're going to bring down the world. And then you've got the escalation. Remember a year ago, Biden said you can't give F-16s and Abrams tanks and cruise missiles to the Ukrainians. That's World War III. Now they're doing it. So as Russia wins that war, as Colonel McGregor documented a few months ago with you, NATO is escalating. Well, that leads right to nuclear war. So we're so close. That fundamentally makes me so mad. This transcends politics. Since when do Democrats love war? Since when do Democrats love the intelligence agencies? They love them now. And so really the Democratic,
so dark.
just
so
like the
dark.
Republican Party is a beachhead for sanity and populism.
Pause it for 1 second. And just to be clear that the idea of Democrats loving war, I'm not sure, people, there was certainly have had Democrats who've gotten us into some nasty wars.
The Democratic Party.
But the idea that it's so dark to hear about Democrats loving national security agencies, I agree. But it's weird that he did not have a comment on the dual assassination plot, where they're going to recruit a right-winger to assassinate Biden and a left-winger to assassinate Trump. And that this is to open the door to Gavin Newsom and maybe Mike Pence.
Working together.
And you mix that in with some other stuff of like, boy, we're in a militaristic mode right now. Fascinating.
Yeah. Also, there's, as far as I know, been no corroboration. In fact, the opposite, that Tucker was illegally targeted by the Biden administration.
Wasn't he going to come out with like all sorts of info and then we never heard about it?
Yeah. Like, I think kind of like this whole, there's going to be a dual assassination thing is something that they're going to talk about for a while to get attention. And then we won't hear about it when nothing comes of it.
Right.
Is there any more to this? I don't know. It's getting increasingly less relevant.
Minutes, but yeah.
Alex
Jones. He's past his prime. It's over. He's like he's in like almost Bill O'Reilly territory now.
Well, part of the problem, I think, is that a lot of people have taken his shtick. Yeah. And they now, he has to do increasingly sort of like desperate and crazy things to have any even entertainment value, and it's just old. It's just old, I think.
Yeah, and I think he also he's become such an avatar for like the most insane online conspiracies about these kinds of things that even people that are more inclined to listen to him are seeking other alternatives, because it's just gotten to a point where his reputation is just tarnished to that degree, I would say. So, like, I mean, but he needs to keep making money, because he's got a $1 billion black hole sitting right in front of him.
Oh.
Hollywood won't make a movie about how laughably absurd it is that we now allow grown men to call themselves women and dominate women's sports. So we did. First of all, that's not, what do you mean Hollywood won't make a movie about that? Like, Juwanna Man literally exists. What are we talking about?
Mr. Jeffries, can I please have your autograph?
Jamal Jeffries was living a dream.
I got the rethink cloning.
Until it turned into a nightmare.
What's up, G? I just saw you on the television, man.
Jamal Jeffries is suspended indefinitely.
Jamal, I'm leaving.
What about all the good loving you was getting up in here?
I packed it.
Nobody wants you, not even the Clippers.
And if he wants to play ball again, he's got only one option: to play as a woman.
I'm here!
Joanna Mann.
No one's gonna believe you're a woman. You did. You kind of created me. You're my agent. You're Frankenstein.
Now he's discovering.
Oh my God, Lord, what are you doing?
Taking a shower, aren't you?
He's in a whole new league.
You a man posing as a woman. She don't want you, she wants a girlfriend. What?
Well, I got it going on. What can I say? Born with it.
In a story that proves
I love you, Joanna Man.
being a superstar is a total drag. Joanna Man.
How about a little kiss? I ain't giving you no.
It's just, it wasn't like inherently transphobic. You know what I mean? Like, it was done not to be like, oh, this is what, like, it was, or was it Joanna Man or was it White Chicks? What was it?
FBI agents Marcus and Kevin Copeland have been assigned to protect the heiresses to a multi-billion-dollar fortune to catch their kidnappers.
One more screw up and me and you are through. You know them girls ain't gonna be there?
Oh, they'll be there. They'll have to do the unthinkable.
Yo, what's up, money? You got a problem? Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Huh? Hold my poodle, dog. What, you want some of this? You want some of this? Mark, you don't want none of this, son? I take the both. How long we gotta do this? I'm telling you, by the end of the weekend, we're gonna be heroes. He's got my gun and badge. Go.
They're boldly going where no black man has gone before.
I think you might have been black previously.
White Chicks.
There's a couple. No way they said there's not enough transphobia. Hold my beer. No, the thing is, like, half of like cross-dressing and like gender swapping and stuff is such a certified classic of like the 90s. Pretty much every single fucking comedy has done this, okay, to some capacity. So the idea that like this doesn't exist or whatever is so ridiculous. It's a classic trope. Tyler Perry, Eddie Murphy, all these guys have done it. And then also on top of that, you have movies, entire movies dedicated to like men competing against women, like cis men cross-dressing and competing against women. Except I would go so far as to say a lot of those movies, even like Joanna Man or White Chicks, I'm sure they had like a lot of inappropriate jokes in them that would be seen as transphobic now. But I wouldn't even say like the origins of said movies were inherently trying to on trans people. You know what I mean? It was more like, it was more sexist, I think, than transphobic. This, on the other hand, is like directly, I suspect, transphobic, right? Like this is specifically done. It's like Mrs. Doubtfire, but evil, right? Like it's not about like cross-dressing or anything like that. And haha, like men are actually better than women in sports or anything like that. It's just straight up like trans people are secretly faking it or something.
Where women's sports is being transformed.
Wait, there ain't no fucking way they put. Is that? At this point, I feel like the entire like trans panic is just propped up to fucking give Riley Gaines a career. Like it makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense that people are this aggro about this shit still. It's like, bro, it failed politically. Please stop. Can we talk about something? Can we talk about now? Are we far enough removed from the situation that we can fucking laugh at a person who got like tied for 5th place and lost to 4 cis women? Okay. And then 1 trans woman and never stopped complaining about it. It's like, you weren't in 2nd place and lost to a trans woman. Like you literally lost to multiple cis women. Get better at swimming, bozo. Skill issue. And conservatives still fucking constantly put this psychopath all over their broadcast. They love a fucking loser who won't stop yapping, dude. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, let's keep on.
The Daily Wire calls foul with the most triggering comedy of the year.
Oh, dude, our comedy is so triggering, dog. Oh man, I'm gonna perish if I watch this. I'm gonna get triggered.
Guys, this is serious. Sports can be your pathway to a better life.
Well, like yours?
Ew, Jeremy Boring is in this? Oh no, they're all playing dress up. Nah, I know what this is. Come on, man. A lot of theater kids. They're just using this as an opportunity. They're just like, yeah, we'll do theater kid stuff, but like we're doing it in a homophobic way. So like don't say we're gay.
Please don't steal my catalytic converter again. Winning matters. It's the key ingredient in becoming a winner.
Maybe you should try it sometime. Are you gonna move?
I am not.
Dude, they have too much money. Like, I can't believe they're pumping out like rom-coms for 8 people to watch. It's nuts that they have like this level of production capabilities at this point.
Let's cut to the chase. I know you're not a woman.
Hey, you don't know how he identifies.
If you can beat them.
What do you know about the U.S. Opens for the Global Games?
You want us to compete as women. $5,000 prizes.
My lover says you were a great coach back in the day.
Join.
This is the way the world is now. My 8-year-old daughter told me all about it. So a guy can become a girl with no physical.
I can't lie. I want to watch this now. I hate these pieces of shit, but I kind of want to watch them try and act. I feel like this is literally made for us. Like, this is the audience. It's made for like people who call up children's hospitals and issue bomb threats, and us. Like, as far as the target audience, like, there's no way. This is made for hate watchers, I think.
Physical changes at all.
Oh, that's called gender fluid.
So I can be a woman on the court and a man in the bedroom. I can't believe it. Nice.
You mean when you're sleeping?
Yes.
Coach?
Alex, we could play basketball.
We have to get the whole team back together.
It's time.
We're in. I'm in.
I'm in.
To play.
Lady Balders. Man up.
Like a girl.
Guess what? I'm with her.
Believe in my truth. This is my truth.
Dude, I love that they're all like pasty ass old white guys, by the way. Like, it's classic. They're just like, oh, dude, we dominate women, bro. We would dominate women. Brittany Griner would destroy you, okay? Straight up.
From heroes.
Day one of being a girl athlete. I love being a girl.
To sheroes.
We could dominate every woman's sport. Running, swimming, soccer. I said sport, Felix. It's ladies basketball, boys. Nobody watches.
It is pretty funny that this is like, they're literally just dunking on cis women. No, yeah. This ultimately, dude, this ultimately comes down to not being transphobic and just shitting on women, which is exactly what Joanna Man and white chicks were. Like, that's the funniest part about the story, is that this is no longer like transphobia because you're so hyper focused on making like a movie out of it. Transphobia only works when you are saying it like, this is what trans people are doing. Okay, this is what trans people are doing. That's the transphobic side of it. Okay, like they're faking it so they can like win a swim meet at the age of 12, right? Like, that's crazy. That's a stupid thing to say. Now, beyond that, this turns, if you make a whole movie out of it, like, it basically just turns into just shitting on cis women. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Excuse me, are these seats open? Never mind.
Getting dunks.
Like, this is so perfect because, like, by virtue of being a man, you can just dunk like that. You know what I mean? It's so perfect. I love this. Like, this dude can't even palm the ball, brother. But by virtue of being a man in this fantasy, like, he automatically outcompetes every woman. You know what I mean? It's so sick.
And tucking trunks.
No, she didn't.
Wait, there ain't no way that the good guys are the white guys, and then they play against the scary black guys who are also now... You can't have a Daily Wire production without it being white supremacist, dog. Yo. God, they make so much. Dude, I love conservatives should always let their freak flag fly. You know?
That's the biggest I've ever seen on a lady.
I don't care.
Lady Ballers.
One can even be trans age now, which provides Sheelix with a wonderful opportunity to relive all the experiences that she missed out on in school.
Streaming exclusively on Daily Wire Plus December 1st.
That's awesome. I can't wait to review this. This is peak cinema. This is peak cinema. It's the best. What is this? Oh, there it is. Can Nashville be Hollywood conservatives? It's been written already. I didn't even read it. I did not know that it existed, but of course it existed. Of course. Nashville, on March 2022, 2021, Tennessee General Assembly sent a resolution to the governor's desk full of lofty sentiment. The document invokes such figures as John Adams and Ronald Reagan and officially welcomes to Tennessee the Daily Wire, a media company, and its co-founder and editor Ben Shapiro, who has truthfully said, facts don't care about your feelings. 2 days later, the governor signed it. Started in 2015 as he didn't go back. He didn't go hard enough. Back to Hollywood. See, I would have done that. I would have gone back to Ben Shapiro's Hollywood roots and how he was actually rejected from Hollywood only to come back with a vengeance to take over Hollywood, but conservatively. But it is Mr. Shapiro's co-founder and the company's co-CEO, a writer and filmmaker named Jeremy Boring, who is leading the Daily Wire with an ambitious new direction. From a purely political media standpoint, without any ideological associations with it, what they've been able to achieve is profound. I will admit. Profoundly scary when you think about the actual implications. But what they've been able to do with a ton of money and a ton of backing, specifically from oil barons like the Wilkes brothers, who also happen to back Prager University and many other conservative operations, is definitely something to think about. There is no alternative to this on the left. Just like the left and independent leftist outlets will never get support or even be able to appear on broadcasts like CNN and MSNBC in the same way that Ben Shapiro has always enjoyed unlimited amounts of coverage from Fox News that is positive. On the other hand, on the left, we just have ideological wars, sectarian infighting, and real grassroots mobilization and not really any sort of astroturfing going on. There is no tax write-off billionaires out there that will come to me and say, Hassan, I'm going to give you $100 million so you can launch your own media operation, but in a socialist way. I want you to do a socialist media operation. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Joined now by Dr. Jordan Peterson. Jordan, great to have you back on the program. A lot has happened since you were last on just a few weeks ago. I want to start by saying that I'm wrestling with a lot of moral quandaries about this war. And I'm hoping that through our conversation today, we might get to at least have some clarity about the moral quandaries and see if we can work out what we should be thinking about this, because I think it's very complicated and it's got to be nuanced, this conversation. Do you feel any moral quandaries about it?
Well, I don't think you can have a war without moral quandary. I mean, a war is the consequence of an unsolvable moral quandary. And so it's not surprising that the conversation surrounding the war is full of moral quandaries, because if it was straightforward and simple, and if there was an easy path forward, then there wouldn't be a war. And so, I mean, I can tell you what I think is going on to the degree that you can reduce it to something quickly explicable.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Jordan Peterson, when a trans person exists in Western college, this constitutes the gravest threat to Western civilization of all time. There's no ands, ifs, or buts. Trans students are engaging in the most horrifying, deadly, massacrous ideology of postmodernist neo-Marxism. Jordan Peterson, when Israel has slaughtered fucking 3,000 children in the most expeditious way possible in a matter of 3 weeks, while the moral quandaries are quite difficult to grasp with, the dragon of chaos will come for you if you make a fast assumption on Israel's apartheid regime. Who could say if this apartheid is justifiable or not? This guy literally goes, this dude, okay, has a fucking aneurysm when the green M&M is not fuckable any longer. But when it comes to just like talking about, again, an ethnic cleansing campaign that's happening in front of our eyes, that all of the Western leaders are refusing to listen to their fucking voters on, as there's mass protests happening everywhere demanding ceasefires, he's like, who could tell who's in the right and who's in the wrong? It's complicated.
No, I think Iran is desperate because of the tenuous hold on power that the mullahs now have in Iran, given their own citizens' rebellion. I think they see the Abraham Accords, which were the most significant step forward towards peace in the...
Yeah, totally. That's why October 7 happened also simultaneously. Yeah, no. Famously, Palestinian liberation has always reacted really quietly and perfectly fine whenever they get totally cut out of the conversation. Yeah. Nothing keeps the region safe like allowing Israel to maintain its apartheid regime and basically solidifying the pre-existing partnerships that these Gulf nation states already had as CIA client states with Israel.
In the Middle East for like 75 years, they see the Abraham Accords as an existential threat. This is a last-ditch attempt by the Iranian mullahs to use the Islam against Jews story to prop up their own dismal reign. And so they rattled the chain of their Hamas puppets and said, provoke, and they did. And their hope is that the Israeli response will be so overwhelming that the Arab world turns against them, and maybe even the people who might be inclined to, be swayed by a victim narrative in the West, and that the Abraham Accords...
The victim narrative, I mean, he's having this conversation right now. It's not October 8th. He's having this conversation on October 31st, okay? After 4,000 or 3,000 children have been f***ing slaughtered. Like, oh, they're going to... The world will see a victim narrative. What a ridiculous thing to say. The world will see Palestinians. Oh no, the world might see Palestinians as victims. When in fact the real victims of society are men that are being told that they can't have sex with women. Men that are being rejected when they want to go on dates. Women wearing makeup. That's the real blight.
To fall apart, and that'll be the end of that. And that could happen. And I'm hoping it won't, because I think the Abraham Accords were...
I'm hoping it won't.
It's irritating to me, for whatever utility that is that I think I know, insofar as you can know such things, that Saudi Arabia would have signed the Abraham Accords 2 years ago if Biden would have moved a little bit more forthrightly on it. And I think...
Like, you want to know how f***ing stupid he is? One, Saudi Arabia and Israel have already normalized relations in anything but on paper, okay? For years. They have the same regional adversary, Iran. So a person who is so supposedly knowledgeable on the matter should probably know that already. That's number one. Number two, Saudi Arabia already has told the United States, well, one, they're intercepting Yemen, rocket fire coming from Yemen in the direction of Israel already. And two, they already told America that they are going to continue with normalizing relations with Israel once things quiet down. But you would already know that if you knew anything about these regional actors and their long history with one another.
I think the reason that he didn't and the Democrats didn't was because they didn't want to give Trump any credit for anything that he had attained in his administration. And I think all of that is appalling. And,
I love that Jordan Peterson gets uninterrupted 56-minute conversation. But God forbid I try to explain something on an issue that I'm knowledgeable on. Holy moly.
I see this story of Muslim against Jew being put forward in this propagandistic manner. And I think, well, the Muslim world has to make a choice too, because it doesn't look to me like their proper champions is the government in Iran, and it's not like the Saudis don't have their flaws, and perhaps the rest of the Arab governmental structures, but
he's like, he still can't hand it to the Muslims, dude. He's like, make no mistake, the Muslims are bad. They're bad.
The Islam world should move in the direction of the Abraham Accords. That would be great for everyone. We could have a real peace. We could have something approximating a union of the Abrahamic people, and I think the accord was named extraordinarily well. Or we could have what we've had for the last 75 years with the Palestinians as perpetual cannon fodder, at the beck and call of those for whom having them be cannon fodder is useful. And so, yeah, well, there's just moral quandaries everywhere there. It's a minefield. But that's what I think is the fundamental reality of the current situation. It's a propaganda war. And
it's so funny. Yeah, man. The greatest threat there is the Gulf nation states at least aesthetically criticizing Israel whenever they engage in yet another pogrom. That's the gravest threat to regional security, and not the fact that Israel has an apartheid state. Israel is an apartheid state. This is inherently a violent position. The maintenance of an apartheid state requires a tremendous amount of violence, increasing violence year over year. Israel is trying to ethnically cleanse the West Bank. Israel has taken over more and more territory in the West Bank. That is the big problem here. That is the big problem morally. That is the big problem from a legal perspective. That is the main problem. That's the only problem, as a matter of fact, because most of this other shit would not occur if Israel did not have an apartheid state. 50 plus years of Israel building settlements in territory that is supposed to be Palestinians and maintaining said settlements is a major problem. It's a major issue. Denying the right to return to Palestinians, 6 million of them are refugees in diaspora, generational refugee status, in diaspora, denying them a right to return to their homes is a major human rights catastrophe.
There's a lot at stake.
On October the 7th, Hamas obviously committed...
When you say the problem is propaganda or the problem is regional actors here and their response to this level of death and destruction, you are quite literally openly admitting you don't give a about what happens to the Palestinians. You only care if people get mad at it. You only care when people actually see what's going on with respect to the Palestinian plight and get upset and want to say, no, enough is enough. We have to stop this.
Committed a terror attack of appalling magnitude. Where were you when you first heard about it, and what was your instant feeling about it?
Well, my instant feeling was to be sickened by it, and it hasn't been that long since I was in Jerusalem, and so it was a little closer to me than it might have otherwise been. I'm also more sensitive to any signs of anti-Semitic catastrophe from studying the Holocaust for the length of time that I did, and I've always regarded Jews as the canary in the coal mine, and I think the reason that the Jews are the canary in the coal mine is because they're a successful minority. And if a culture can tolerate a successful minority, it's pretty damn robust and it's not very resentful. And as soon as a culture starts to get resentful, the Jews make an easy target because they're a minority, and so that's an easy target to begin with. But then they're the minority that has the temerity to be successful. And that really brings the resentful out of the rat holes. And I've seen a rise in anti-Semitism online over the last 3 years.
I hate that he's using real... No, guys, before you say this is actually anti-Semitism, no, this is this is correct. What he's saying is correct. What he's saying is reductive, but it's incorrect. Historically speaking, this is precisely what has happened in times of economic instability. I talked about it yesterday as well, okay? Economic volatility creates a chaotic environment where people immediately look for a villain, and the villain always historically is Jews, okay? He's not wrong on this, but what should perhaps give you a better understanding or reframe your perspective is the fact that this dude who openly repeats neo-Nazi propaganda, claiming that the Great Replacement is happening, claiming that there are, there's cultural Marxism occurring in college campuses that is actually rotting the morally superior Western world to its core. These are things that Nazis have said. He has repeated this Nazi propaganda in contemporary society time and time again. That guy is making a correct assessment on anti-Semitism and then literally changing the dynamic and using it. He's weaponizing anti-Semitism to justify Israel's actions.
It's just stunning to behold on the right and on the left, but jointly. And then Well, so I was sickened by it, but then I was also immediately suspicious of Iran's role. And I mean, that doesn't require any particular perspicacity on my part. I think it's quite obvious, but that also opens up the rat's nest of the maneuvering, the political maneuvering around the Abraham Accords, because I was very ill when the Abraham Accords were signed, and I couldn't or hadn't paid much attention. And when I sort of recovered my ability to see again, I saw that this remarkable peace process had taken place, and I could not understand for the life of me why it wasn't trumpeted on the front page of every news.
Yeah, I wonder why, dude. I wonder why a peace process that quite literally, demonstrably caused, at least a little bit, caused the chaos that is unfolding, that played a role in this chaos unfolding. Yeah, just read a newspaper, man. Read an Israeli newspaper, please. Read Haaretz or something. Maybe you will develop a better understanding of what the is going on. But it is a consequence of the apartheid regime and a real refusal to meet the Palestinians as human beings, as equal partners. Okay, openly denying them their humanity and continuing to strangle them. A peace process where one part is not present. What a joke. Exactly. You can't. I'll give you a Nazi Germany argument here, okay? Like, this is like saying appeasement caused peace for everyone and stability in the region, and that the Germans should have been allowed to continue taking additional territory to create living room, to create living space. It is identical. It is identical to say this. I cannot believe why every newspaper is not talking about appeasement. I cannot comprehend why every newspaper is not talking about appeasement nonstop. The reality, of course, is that if Nazis had kept it specifically to ethnically cleansing and targeting Jewish people and Romani people and trade unionists and communists, and they didn't actually have colonial ambitions beyond that, imperialist ambitions beyond that, who knows? Maybe the world would have kept it going. Maybe the world would have literally been like, yeah, like YOLO, we should do our own, actually. We love what you're doing. Make no mistake. Nobody went to war because they wanted to save Jewish people, okay? That is not the reality at all of no matter how hard people try to explain how honorable and just every single actor was during World War II. It was not. It was not because of the camps.
Newspaper across the world. And I also think that Trump's team should have got a Nobel Peace Prize for it. I cannot see how you could possibly make a counter-argument to that for all of Trump's flaws and for his administration's flaws. This was a major accomplishment. And yet, and I know the Saudis were behind it. They didn't sign it, but it wouldn't have gone forward without their nod and wink. And I believe, that if Biden would have taken the opportunity and been a bit magnanimous in his...
Chat, for those of you who don't know, like, I mean, I guess maybe you don't know, but like, we've literally turned boats full of Jewish refugees away, okay? Here in the United States of America, we said, no, f off. The Jews escaping Nazi Germany, okay? Like, escaping Europe. Don't ever let anyone tell you that America was joined World War II. I mean, FDR was not the worst when it came to World War II. I will admit that. But ultimately, like, the overarching American ambition, it took a lot. It took America to be attacked for us to even join the battle.
His response to Trump, which he could have been, instead of thinking of him as Satan himself, that he could have enticed the Saudis into a peace accord. And we wouldn't be in this damn situation now. And now we're playing it out the hard way, because the Iranians could win the propaganda war. And they've got, God only knows how many agents they have in the West,
What?
Promoting the kind of social upheaval that we've seen on the streets in the last few weeks. And so the narrative could go either way.
Yeah, dude, it has to be. This is the same exact shit that, like, people always say about, like, the Arab Spring and whatever, right? Okay? I will admit readily that there is always enough volatility on the ground. You cannot just materialize protests out of nowhere. I know a lot of lefties will love saying, for example, that like every single protest that happens globally, like whether it be the Hong Kong protests or whether it be protests in other places, like these are all inventions of the American State Department. It's like, no, obviously there are real people. Okay, these are real people who are genuinely fearful. And there are examples of where it doesn't work, like Cuba, right? Because there are examples of these protests not working, like in Cuba, where they try to present it in a certain way. So the idea that like there isn't actual real instability on the ground and people who have a genuine desire to like protest against their government is completely incorrect. And just like the fact that Jordan Peterson thinks that Iran is responsible for the mass mobilization that we are seeing is completely idiotic. It's so utterly laughable. Yeah, dude, Iran is responsible for 500,000 British people taking it up to the streets. And not because they see what is going on. Not because they have seen the numbers and think the unimaginable cruelty that befalls the Palestinians is unacceptable. Nah, it's Iran and also anti-Semitism. That's the guiding principle here.
But I'm rooting hard for the Abraham Accords signees, and I hope they have the courage of their convictions, and I hope they can see that their way forward is the most appropriate way forward for the good of the Muslim world. Or what, are we going to stay in some 14th century conflict between the fundamentalist Muslim world and the Jews? Jesus, that sounds, we've had enough of that, haven't we? You'd think.
14th century fundamentalist Muslim conflict? Bitch, that's your own people, you soul. What do you mean? Aren't you like a Christian supremacist? 14th century pogroms and shit is still up to the Muslims at that point? Muslims were doing that? You asshole. Another laughably ahistorical, nonsensical take.
I asked Ben Shapiro, what is a proportionate response to what happened on October the 7th? Yeah. And he said there isn't one. That there is no proportionate response, and there shouldn't be. I mean, that in itself, I asked Vivek Ramaswamy.
I mean, if he's talking about if he's talking about the Crusades, then the f does that have to do with Muslims versus Jews? Like, what do you mean?
When I interviewed him at the weekend, the same question, and he was basically inferring the same, but he also said that he would happily put the heads of 100 Hamas leaders on stakes along the border as a message to people not to commit this act. I thought that was a sort of medieval barbaric response to medieval barbarism, and that eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is not the solution. I also believe that Israel has a fundamental right not just to defend itself after what happened, but has a duty to protect its people. And it has to take that duty obviously very seriously. But if your mission statement, as they've made clear, is to eliminate Hamas completely, and Hamas live in Gaza surrounded by civilians, among civilians, you can only do that. You can only get rid of Hamas with massive civilian casualties. And that's where I have this moral quandary about how much is too much.
Well,
does Israel get a license to do whatever it wants?
I think Piers Morgan talked to way too many pro-Palestinian voices, bro. I swear to God. Maybe at some point he was like, yeah, no, these guys, this is good for my clout. But he talked to one too many pro-Palestinian activists and speakers, myself included. And now he's like, I'm confused as to what's going on.
To eliminate Hamas, or should there be a limit? And if so, what is that limit?
Well, I don't think Israel will have a license to do whatever it wants, because what will happen inevitably, and I think if I was an Iranian propagandist, I would be counting on this. Let's imagine that Israel moves against Hamas with its usual effectiveness, and they start winning, in a serious way, and the casualties mount. Well, it's a lot easier to take a victim appreciation stance against a power that's clearly winning. So Israel can't win without accruing losses along the way, because the more they manifest their military superiority, the easier it's going to be for those who cast the Palestinians as victims to gain the moral upper hand. And
I can't believe he's using so many different words to basically say that the more Israel kills babies, the more the world is going to get mad at Israel killing children. Okay? Like, the problem is not, of course, Israel killing children. The problem in this circumstance is the world recognizing that Israel's killing children and getting mad at it. Okay? Oh no, don't stop the baby murder. It's just that the world might start seeing the baby murder and get mad at it. I am more upset about the optics, the bad optics of the baby murder.
And that doesn't mean I know what Israel should do, because I wish I had that wisdom. But what I would like to see happen, in the best of all possible worlds perhaps, would be for the signees of the Abraham Accords to say to Israel, privately first, we're not budging. And then maybe to take a foray into the public and say that. It would be lovely to see Saudi Arabia come out and say, you know, we're going to continue the Abraham Peace Accord process. And then Israel could say, well, if the Abraham Accord holds and we have the probability of expanding it, we can take the risk of not being so devastating in our response to Hamas, and they could back off. But because there'd be a counter victory in it for them. And so as far, like, I can't see a better pathway forward than that. And I think that's a potentially realistic pathway, especially because that would also have the side benefit of not allowing Iran to prevail. So that's
like, the funniest part about what he's saying is that I don't completely disagree with him, because if your goal is to undermine Iranian influence in the region, and I personally don't give a shit one way or the other, I just want people to stop suffering, right? But if your goal is to undermine Iranian influence in the region, if that is your strategic goal, okay, and that is certainly America's strategic goal, then you have to take away a calling card that will undermine Israel's defenses and Israel's security in the region. Okay? Yeah, we know you have no idea what's going on. Thank you. Yeah, totally. I definitely don't know what's going on. Anyway, actually, I don't know why you banned that guy, because I would love to hear what he thinks I don't know about what is going on, and how he can tell me over the course of many, many years, they will finally get to the point where, like, Israel has to have an apartheid state. His name literally says, is banned. Mods were right. Oh. Anyway, my point was this. If your goal is to undermine Iran in the region, if your goal is to then you need to take away one of Iran's tools. It's not necessarily just the Abraham Accords. It's also to stop. It's also to basically stop allowing Iran to be able to use Hamas or any kind of Palestinian group, any kind of Palestinian militancy against Israel. So technically, he's not wrong in the sense that Iran uses Hamas as a destabilizing force against Israel, which it sees as a continuation of America in the region. But the best path forward in this circumstance is not to continue bombing the shit out of Gaza. To continue bombing the shit out of Gaza. The thing to do in this circumstance is to move in the exact opposite direction. Peace assurances, security commitments, allowing Palestinians to live with dignity so that there is no more air that can be, there's no more oxygen for Hamas to exist.
That's the best I can do on how this might proceed.
You cannot do that without ending the apartheid.
Most optimistic possible way. And I don't know if that's good enough or not.
On October the 7th, you tweeted, "Give them hell, Netanyahu. Enough is enough." And you got some blowback for that, as everybody
a lot
says anything about this. Were you surprised by the scale of the blowback? Do you wish you'd phrased that tweet differently? Do you have any regrets about it?
Well, you know, Twitter is a very complicated social media platform, and it's been difficult for me to learn how to use it wisely. And I'm not alone in that, because it's difficult to be wise on Twitter. Now, what I'm trying to learn is when a tweet is appropriate and when a long-form commentary is appropriate. And the rule, I think, is something like the higher the stakes, the more likely that the long-form commentary is necessary. And really, it would have been better had because I did release a YouTube video where I explained some of what we already talked about.
I saw it,
and that was received much better, let's put it that way.
Thanks, man. Thanks for explaining your position of give him hell, kill more babies, more baby blood, please.
But it also gave me a chance to elaborate my argument. And so what it highlighted for me, and I felt, you know, I was very taken aback by what happened in Israel. And I was also appalled because in my estimation, it was unnecessary. As I said, the Abraham Accords could have been extended earlier, and maybe this wouldn't have been necessary. And so I allowed myself to express some sentiment at that point without providing context, and that wasn't as good as providing the context. And I'm rethinking Twitter overall at the moment about how to use it. You know, Elon has taken off the character limit, and he's also made it possible to distribute video, and so it no longer has to be a place where impulsive exchanges can occur rapidly, and I'm trying to reconfigure how I use it. I'm much happier with the video. Now, you know, I was upset because I had developed somewhat of a Muslim following on YouTube, and I was very happy about that. A lot of people on the Islamic side of the world were watching my biblical lectures, for example, and you know, and I've had extensive conversations with Muslims on my YouTube channel, and you know, I burnt some of that up, and I'm not sure I did that. Well, I would say I'm certain I didn't do that in the most productive manner, and so do I regret it? It would have been better to do the long form, to have done the long form to begin with, you know? And Twitter invites and rewards a certain amount of impulsivity, and it wasn't, I don't know, Pierce, I don't know if it's ever time for impulsive action, especially when the stakes are serious, you know?
Yeah,
and
so I completely get that. I mean, there's no doubt, for example, that what happened on October the 7th was a form of hell for the victims and for their families. There's also no doubt that for...
Okay, I can't, I'm, is there parts of this that get like more interesting? Because like the reality is hearing Jordan Peterson be like, give him hell is not shocking to me at all. That's what I expected from him anyway. I don't understand. Is he just losing followers and upset by it? So Jordan Peterson had a big following in the Muslim world. Part of the reason why he had a big following in the Muslim world was because, let's be real, there's, you know, misogyny everywhere, and it certainly exists in the Muslim world as well. Conservative Muslims loved him. They loved an American guy, an American trad guy, repeating shit that they believe. Now, this doesn't mean the entirety of the Muslim world loved him. But then when his attitude came out about or his like willingness to openly champion the death and destruction of Palestinians was recognized by some in his following, and then they were like, okay, yeah, this guy sucks. He's just like everybody else, you know? Andrew Tate Muslim stands have been mad quiet. Bro, I don't even remember who Andrew Tate is at this point. Does he still do stuff? Does he even say shit? I don't know, but I mean, I don't know. Is he pro-Israel? I doubt it. I think Andrew Tate doesn't give a f. He can just say whatever the f. He got into beef with Ben. Oh God, I don't care. Oh, he is pro-Palestine. Got to be real weird for the tater tots who are also pro-Palestine because their daddy is, and then they come in here to be like, Hassan, you suck. And then they're like, oh, Hassan is also pro-Palestinian. That's crazy.
Original appalling terror attacks. That,
well,
again, is where I have a moral quandary.
Well, the question is, I suppose, and I don't purport willing to
Jewish
begun to do. I think.
Yeah, I mean, this is just like a incredibly silly way it's an incredibly silly way to talk about the situation. Just being like, oh, dude, it's just Abraham Accords, placing so much emphasis on it, not realizing that it's like it's a utterly unserious way to deal with the ongoing issue, and it's simply just another way to like avoid the problem. You know what I mean? The real problem in the region is not that the Gulf nation states are not openly in support of Israel. The real problem is Israel is an apartheid state. It's an apartheid regime. Washing over that reality will not work. People see it.
My goodness, this is crazy. This is a very famous high-altitude romantic entertainment project in China called the Flying Kiss Park. It is located on Baima Mountain in Wulong, Chongqing, China. It is the only dual interactive flying island in the world. Built on a cliff at an altitude of 1,250 meters, the sculpture is 52 meters tall, weighing a total of 620 tons, comprising 2 giant statues, the White Horse Prince and the Flying Fairy. Each supports a circular platform with mechanical arms. Each platform can carry 60 visitors. After visitors board the platform, the 2 statues slowly straighten their bodies, rising 52 meters within 3 minutes. When the platforms are fixed in the air, the 2 statues rotate towards each other by 307 degrees, eventually positioning the 2 platforms only 2 meters apart. At this moment, the Prince and the Fairy complete a romantic kiss in the sky. The designer team's investment in safety construction is also beyond imagination. The bottom of the 2 flying platforms is fitted with multiple layers of high-strength, explosion-proof glass. Though it looks thrilling, it is very safe. Multiple layers of fences are also installed on the outside of the platform. Such exquisite design is all for everyone's reassurance and enjoyment. So, with such a blend of romance and excitement, do you dare to experience it?
I don't like Taylor Swift at all. And
most guys do.
Well, isn't that the real topic, right? But that's kind of the real topic. And I feel as if she's being forced upon our culture, like it's this Taylor Swift colonizing effort. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. She's a narcissist. I don't think that she's very talented.
She's nasty. She's ugly. Nobody likes her.
Nobody likes her.
She looks like a teenage boy. Like, dudes don't like her. Like, if you put her in front of, like, she's ugly.
That's true. Yeah. Does Taylor Swift have any eggs left?
Look, those are devastating attacks against Taylor Swift. And I just hope that she doesn't see that, because if she does, I know she's going to look at that panel and just think, that's terrible because I desperately wanted all of those troglodytes. Anyway, look, that was a compilation of some of the attacks that took place on that show by Midas Touch. Now, that actual episode, apparently, of Thought Crime came out back in October, but Midas Touch just put together their mashup now. And I had missed it at the time. I wasn't back from paternity leave, but these guys cannot stop thinking about how much they hate Taylor Swift, how much they're totally not attracted to her, how much they're totally not jealous of every guy that's dated her. And so they just attack and attack and attack. And look, yes, there's a lot of brewing incel energy, but it's not just that. There is actually a political angle to this. Take a look at this.
Her politics are cancerous. Her politics are poison.
She doesn't do the stuff that a political true believer would really do.
Did something. She got 4 million girls registered in like 24 hours. You see that? She broke the website.
That's the thing. It's so easy for her to do that. She just
Okay, so that is, I think, fundamentally why, for political reasons, they hate her, is because she has occasionally said people should register and vote. She's not out there constantly talking about politics or doing, political direct action or anything like that. She just says people should be involved in the system. And take a look at what Charlie Kirk said there. Simply getting girls registered to vote will destroy America. Why wouldn't they go for you and your ideas? I mean, you think that you're really persuasive and everything, right? You think that you support ideas that the majority of Americans support. So won't many of those newly registered girls vote for you? Obviously, he understands that that's not ever going to happen. That's not the point. They hate democracy. They hate people being involved in politics. And the fact that she brings people in and is objectively one of the most popular celebrities in the world just burns in their stomachs. Adrian, what do you think?
Yes, they are seething at the fact that she has so much power. And the thing is like you've noted, she doesn't try to use her power by telling them how to vote. She just simply says, why don't you be a part of the process? And that is what these right-wingers hate the most, the thought that young people will be a part of the process. That is Taylor Swift's power of simply saying, hey, get involved. I'm doing it. It's cool. And you know what? We see this so much from Republicans of not wanting young people, Black people, other marginalized groups to be involved in the democratic process by way of the fact that our country doesn't just register you to vote, doesn't give you the day off. They don't want people to use their voices because they recognize that this country would actually have to end up having laws, policies, and practices that reflect the desires of the vast majority of members of the public.
Yeah, they could not be more clear that they know fundamentally the only chance they have is if only people like them vote. If you open it up to the American people, they don't think they can win. That's why they're constantly freaking out about efforts to include more people. And look, it's pragmatic of them. Their opinions are dog crap. People don't like their ideas. So yeah, they should be against democracy because in a democracy, they have no chance. But the fact that they take it to really gross levels, I find more unacceptable. Take a look at this.
Over under, how long until Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are no more? Over under, Blake.
Like until they're dead? I could see their suicide pact taking effect.
No, not that one. Not when the mRNA gene altering shot makes Travis Kelce drop in the middle of practice.
That one's way more fun.
I'm talking about when will they no longer be together?
I don't think they're together now. I think this is all a psyop.
What's the goal of the psyop?
World totally domination.
Agree, Blake. Do you agree, Jake, totally agree, Jack? That just to make money?
Look, that panel is, if nothing else, proof that there is a social group for everyone, no matter how pathetic, no matter how conspiratorial, no matter how hateful and just base you are. You can find other people who are just as bad as you. And so it's not enough that they think this woman who nobody wants to be with, they're just hoping that the guy who apparently desperately wants to be with her and they're in a happy relationship will break up with her. Now they're just hoping that he'll die. Please, come on, let my conspiracy theory about the vaccine be true. And he loved that point so much that he actually tweeted it out. What will break Kelsey's heart first, the COVID shot or Taylor Swift? You get it? Because they pretend that everyone that dies because of the vaccine and not because of COVID or whatever. It's stupid, it's pathetic, but it's only equally pathetic as everything else that the dude posts. He also tweeted about, there's a photo of Dylan Mulvaney. It says, finally, a man Taylor Swift won't write a song about. Like that, literally, that Dylan Mulvaney post has nothing to do with him. It doesn't have anything to do with politics. It is Dylan Mulvaney just off living her life, and there's a reference to Taylor Swift, and he has to weigh in on it. That is so thoroughly pathetic that is how this guy who, thanks to the largesse of millionaires and billionaires, is a wealthy individual who doesn't have to do any work. He spends his day on Twitter just attacking people who are happy. And again, as with so many others, I will remind you that this is a guy who would have you believe that he's a devout Christian. And if Jesus Christ were to alight upon the surface of the earth, he would punch Charlie Kirk as hard as he could. Because how could you possibly think that Jesus or the angels above would take in a person who spends their time on social media just mocking with condescension and hatred and jealousy the other people around him? I'm not a Christian, but even I understand that this ain't the values that Jesus Christ preached, you dumbass. Sorry, I cannot believe how utterly hypocritical they are on the most base level values that they're supposed to hold. But Adrian, they were calling for effectively her death and for the death of her boyfriend. What do you think?
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. These people, it's not even hypocritical at this point. It's largely pathetic, and it's not lost on me how Charlie Kirk decides to go after Taylor Swift's like things about her womanhood, the thought that she has no eggs, the thought that she's not pretty. It's this playing into the patriarchy of a woman's value being based on her physical appearance as well as her ability to procreate.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, this is old mantra. Like this woman is probably a billionaire by now, extremely popular, has a lot of power and force, and she just wields it by wanting people to get involved in the democratic process. And for that, he attacks you. The good thing about this situation here is I feel like no matter how many incels Charlie Kirk has at his disposal, there are so many more Swifties out there. And those 100%. Little Swifties they are not in any way afraid to clap back. So I kind of enjoy it.
And by the way, she shouldn't be. Why are you getting involved? If she was conservative, do you know how much they would embrace her? That is all it is. And they wish they could have a version of that. I mean, Laura Loomer was tweeting about Kid Rock's upcoming tour saying, a counter to Taylor Swift. 2024 will be MAGA versus Swifties. Be careful what you wish for, Laura Loomer, on that right there. I think Taylor Swift might do a little bit better than Kid Rock. But again, it's not about how singers and actors and celebrities should get out of the politics. They just desperately wish that they supported their politics, and they don't. And just, again, to buttress the point that I was making about how obsessed they are, whoever the hell this guy is, Clay Travis said that Taylor Swift might be to blame for the Kansas City Chiefs underperforming this season. Is there nothing they will not put at the feet of Taylor Swift? And I don't understand it. I'm not some crazy Swiftie. I largely don't care what Taylor Swift does, but that's a perfectly fine position to hold. If you don't like her, you can just not go to her concert. You can not listen to her music. I am living proof that that is easy to do and to sustain for a long period of time. How is that not enough for you, you weirdos? And very briefly, just to tell you that it is not just the right wingers who are weirdos on this. I saw every outlet had this headline. This is L, but everyone had this. There's now a photo of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce passionately kissing on the lips. It's just a reference to the fact that they put up an Instagram photo of them kissing. Why does that need to be a headline?
Yes.
First of all, and by the way, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be interested in Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's romance. If that's what you're interested in, that's perfectly fine. I'm not even saying that you shouldn't want to read articles about them. But like, if you are that person, are you not following her on Instagram already? Why do you need a headline about that? You're already interested in her. Just look at the photo. You don't need a headline about it. Anyway.
Yeah, but Elle needs the clicks. That's what it is.
I
They're
understand
trying to take
that.
advantage of these
about.
Swifties wanting the clicks. But yeah, the rest of us are annoyed, but we're not Charlie Kirk for sure.
No, not at all. Okay, so I'm gonna move on, lest I seem to be obsessed with it. I like to shake it off. I like since then, I don't know if I've ever listened to a song. But like, why are people so obsessed? Brad, who is your garbage person of the week?
Well, part and parcel as my 50% Ashkenazi is where I have to placate the inherently anti-Semitic instinct to believe there are good Jews and bad Jews. My garbage person of the week is Ben Shapiro, who just can't help himself. He has to go to ads in the middle of his stories. And whereas on TYT, we try not to input like really horrible ad messages and blatant selling of things into our more harrowing news stories, that doesn't seem to stop Ben Shapiro from going straight from Hamas into selling crap to his audience. Take a look.
Israel has now resumed its offensives in the Gaza Strip after Hamas broke the ceasefire and fired a bunch of rockets into Israel and committed a terror attack on a street corner in Jerusalem against people who were just standing at a bus stop. We'll get to that momentarily. First, don't give somebody a pair of socks this year for the holidays. That's dumb. No one wants socks. Give them a gift that will knock their socks off instead. Try Good Ranchers, your source for standout gifts this holiday season.
That's right. He goes from death and mutilation to let's knock someone's socks off and with meat delivery. How about some meat delivery? It's not just that, he does it all the time. Take a look at this delightful montage.
We'll get to the insane media coverage of this conflict, which again is aid and support to Hamas. There's just no question about it. First, the Ben Shapiro Show is supported by Grand Canyon University, an affordable private Christian university with a vibrant campus in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona that's ranked top 20 in the country. Million bajillion child poets being killed in Gaza, and everybody taking that at face value. And that, of course, is leading members of the media to repeat that sort of nonsense. We'll get to that in just 1 second. First, the holidays are here. If you're looking for the perfect gift for somebody you love or even something nice for yourself, you need to check out Bon Charge. Bon Charge is a holistic wellness brand with a huge range of evidence-based products to optimize your life in every way. In just 1 second, we'll get to, again, the insane calls for a ceasefire in the face of Hamas's continued barbarity. First, I've been talking about my Helix sleep mattress for years, so I gotta be honest with you, not sleeping amazing on the road.
I would think that if I were paying money to advertise on Ben Shapiro's show, I'd be mad. I just wouldn't be sure which I'd be more mad about. The fact that he is putting my wellness product up against accusations that they're faking child poet deaths, or the fact that he apparently is physically incapable of reading an ad without making it seem as if he would literally rather be doing anything else in the world. It's the most unnatural, rushed through, artificial, inconvenienced ad read I've ever heard in my life.
It's so good, and he does it all the time. And I did a Rebel HQ video where you can see all the extended version of it. So go to youtube.com/RebelHQ. I think it was 2 weeks ago, but it's just fantastic. It always delivers. And he's like, listen, I do a lot of evidence-based journalism, and also you should get this machine that I'm selling that shoots light at your face till you feel better.
100%.
So there's that.
Everybody, welcome to the world's greatest show. I'll be your Dusty tonight. Thank you for joining me. I love you. Thought I'd get the cat stirred up a little bit before the show. Hell yeah, they got one job in this earth to be my floating kitties in the background. So do your job, cats. So let's jump on the in here and start off with a little something I like to call. See if I can get the timing perfectly. You know I'm going to do it perfect, y'all. Top story tonight. Nailed it, as always. Secondhand embarrassment for Brett Weinstein. Holy shit. These are grown-ass men. Guy used to be a college professor. Makes money as a public intellectual on a podcast. Sitting around whining for 10 minutes that Elon Musk blocked him on Twitter, folks. Oh no, your daddy Elon has abandoned you. Maybe grow the fuck up and get over it?
When I contacted Elon after my account was commandeered, I was trying to point him to things about my account that does not behave normally. And incidentally, in the conversation that I had with him,
I was unfollowed from you right before that. Remember, I contacted you and texted you and said, "Hey, Brett, you were one of the first 4 people I ever followed on there."
So that's interesting. Yeah. It could mean something. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it means. But
he thinks you guys are embarrassing and you're bugging the out of him, and you're obviously just trying to contact him because you want attention and you want to make money off his large platform, and he doesn't want to deal with you because he's moved on to the next better thing. He's hanging out with Andrew Tate and Alex Jones, and you guys are old news. You're not popular enough to hang with Daddy Elon anymore, so take the hint. Have some self-respect. Slither away.
I was trying to convey something to him, which is, I think when as you know, because you talked to Elon about the things he was discovering inside of the crime scene that he bought.
Yeah.
And one of the things that he discovered was that there were lots of mechanisms that caused things to be deboosted that weren't labeled as such. And so he kept finding more and more levels. And I was trying to convey to him, look, I think you will find something special when you figure out what happened.
You're literally begging, at the time, the world's richest man to do tech support for you, because that's how important you think that you are. And of course, he's been doing it for everybody and their dog anyway, like cat turd. So why wouldn't you be included in this? But yeah, you didn't make the cool kids table, dude.
To us. Now, maybe that's wrong, but I wasn't talking to him privately about this for personal, selfish reasons, though I would love the problem to have been solved for those reasons. I was telling him that
He's a giver. It's all about humanity and society. It wasn't about him, y'all.
because I believed that in his quest to make Twitter into the new public square in which, right, that he would discover those things at the point he chased this down. So he then blocked me saying, stop spamming me, which was a very strange thing for him to say in light of the conversation that he and I had had. From my little story where, you know, he blocked me, it's like, look, hey, Elon, there aren't that many people out here trying to advance the ball who have something meaningful to contribute to the team. We have to stop tripping over each other. We are talking about the fact that what he is doing stands to change the whole system for deep game theoretic reasons that, as far as I know, we're the only people talking about. Then it doesn't make sense for us to be tripping over each other, right? Even if I misread the signals that were going on in my discussion with
them. You understood perfectly. You just wondered about it.
him, then the answer is, okay, so you said, hey, stop spamming me. Message received.
It wasn't. You're crying right now about it.
It didn't need to become a, you know, this was the block actually before Elon even started talking about the fact that blocks were no good.
Oh my God, imagine grown men sitting on their podcast talking about this. Move right along, folks, get your super chats in. Help the cats in the world's greatest show, because it is now time for Religious Bull. Everybody sing religious boys, religious boys, religious boys. Always it's time for religious boys. Nailed it as always. So first off, tonight's a religious bullshit. Preacher, Pastor Jeremy Fowl, making death threats during a now deleted sermon. So he been hanging out with the guy who been kid diddling, another child preacher who's his good friend and all. And he's like, hey, if anybody in this church dares spread these rumors about my friend who's fucking children, you're going to get sniped. You're going to get killed and whatnot. Anyway, he deleted the whole thing because probably shouldn't threaten people's lives when you're up on the pulpit, even though his whole congregation's clapping for him. Yeah, preacher, kill people for trying to protect children from your pedophile friends. Anyway, here it is.
I'm saying this because you might have heard that my friend James Randolph has been lied about recently.
It was not. He told the truth
And
about it.
whenever I get a call from him and he tells me about that, he's going to court tomorrow. I believe that he's going to be, I believe justice will be served and all liars will be exposed.
He's going to be found guilty.
Eventually it's going to happen one way or another. He's
going to be found guilty and this guy's not going to talk about it anymore. He's going to claim, oh my God, he was set up or some shit. Never when they're found guilty in a court of law do they accept the court's ruling.
Word. It always happens. But to think that people that left our fellowship are somehow involved in encouraging that made me go on high alert. I'm not going to allow people like that around here, and I'm letting you know that.
Yeah, you cannot protect your children from the pedophiles I hang out with. We will rape your children, and you will like it. Or else we'll kick you out of this church. Hey, you might get sniped. Better not try to keep us from raping your children.
They're not going to come and video. They're not going to come and do this. And if you still talk to them and you listen to them, you're going to be sniped and taken out. And you don't come crying to me later. I've warned you and warned you and warned you and warned you and warned you. If you think this is a personal matter, you've missed the entire boat. This is a spiritual war that we're in. Yay! Men that I respect and look up to are being lied about. Now, you can either trust that or not.
I don't.
I know we live in David. You say, I don't know if we can trust. You better listen to what I'm saying. I don't hang out with pervs.
You do. Like, on average, pastors are the most likely to hang out with pervs or be pervs themselves. What the fuck are you talking about? Every single show we cover multiple happening at least once a day are pastors, youth pastors, priests getting arrested for fucking children. So I think you protest too much. And hear what he said. Even if you guys even talk to these people who try to tell you the truth about how we're fucking your children, you got to get sniped. Definitely a church you want to run to.
Pervs run away from me. They always have.
Oh, I bet they do.
Since I follow God with all my heart, they've run away from me.
Definitely.
I told a story. I heard myself on the radio telling it recently. You may not understand this. I've reached out to the LGBT lifestyle for a long time.
I'm sure you have.
In the past to try to get them born again. And one night had one of them in the car. I went to pick him up for church.
I reached out to an LGBTQ plus person. I had him in my car. We're just hanging out in my car. Just normal shit happening here, folks.
And he had grown his nails out, and he said,
no.
I tell you right now, if you hate on me, I'll scratch you to death.
Definitely. He just said that out of the blue. He just threatened you out of the fucking blue. You know, you're like, suck my dick. God wants you to suck my dick, you sinner. You're a dirty sinner, but I'll still take some dick sucking. He'll probably be like, ooh, I scratch you back as I something like that, dude. I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I said, you ain't going to touch me. You're going to either repent or else you're going to get out of this car.
Totally happened.
I ain't putting up with that. Now, I'm not hating on anybody either, but I don't have to confirm your sinful lifestyle.
What you have in the car,
The
dude?
church does not exist to confirm sin.
Literally, that is your entire goal. You're having a whole sermon to run interference for a pedophile who is one of your best friends. So, yikes! But exactly what you should expect from Christians. Never take any responsibility. Never try to protect children from their friends. Them. It's always your fault, you of little faith. It's been one day since my last show, so of course, Virginia Baptist pastor Ben Wharton has been arrested on 30 felony charges of raping children under the age of 13 at a Christian school that was started by his church. Wharton has served 7 churches in Virginia, South Carolina, and Alabama, and Florida over the past 4 decades. He's raped kids all over this country. You know he has. And like I said, it's been one whole day, so multiple preachers arrested. Kentucky pastor pleads guilty to child sex charges. A former Lancaster pastor last week agreed to a plea deal to drop 12 charges of sexual abuse of children in exchange for pleading guilty to 1 charge. Thomas Wall pled guilty to 1 count of sexual abuse of a child, according to Garland County records, and of course, still not the only one. Hat trick this week. West Virginia pastor arrested on child prostitution charges. The now former lead pastor of Mount Hope Christian Church has been arrested on charges of patronizing a minor victimized by sexual servitude. I said sex trafficking. So once again, folks, one day, 3 new preachers arrested. Not a drag queen, which brings me to my next one, folks. They found one. They finally found one. And this has been spammed to me everywhere, y'all. It's Chud Christmas. It's anti-trans New Year. They're so excited they finally found one. Philly LGBTQ activist charged with rape, sexual assault of 2 children. A trans woman turned out to be a pedophile, folks. And immediately, everywhere, all over, every single right-wing social media site, every Chud influencer spreading this everywhere. Now, you'll notice that you never saw any of them posting, what has it been, at least 1,000 preachers who have raped children since I started this show that I posted. Not a single one of them ever gets posted. None of the Boy Scout troop leaders, none of the teachers, none of the cops ever get posted by these people. But one trans woman, finally they find one that turns out to be a pedophile. Boom! See? We were right all along. This proves everything we've ever been saying. All our hate, all our boycotting of Drag Queen Story Hour. Once again, this is not a drag queen. Once again, no evidence whatsoever this person was ever involved in any kind of Drag Queen Story Hour or anything. This is just pedophile, right? So, I had people posting this to me everywhere, Dusty. Ha ha, Dusty. Ha ha, you was wrong. You was wrong. Literally goes against everything I've said. This is how pathetic people are. Somebody made an anti-Dusty page. They took this picture of me. I guess they thought it made me look bad. I don't know, from like 7 years ago. And they started their own Facebook, anti-DU, the anti-Dusty page. And they were spamming this to me all over the place. Here's the picture they put up for me. I'm a chud. I don't think you know what a chud is. That's not how that works. Anyway, and of course they posted this. Not a drag queen, trans flags. Laughing myself. They posted this to me everywhere. Ha 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 ha, not a drag queen, so hilarious. Even though it's not a drag queen, it's a trans person. Trans people and drag queens are different. Not the same thing ever. But also, how fucking pathetic would you have to be to do something like this? I wonder if this is somebody I know. I just feel sorry for them. I'm not mad. I just think a person that would be this insecure, this bottom of the barrel, just holy shit, being them must be terrible. Just to wake up every morning and be this person, just I just want to hug you. It's weird, I know, but good Lord. And anyway, this never goes against anything I said, though. Literally, no one has ever said that trans people cannot be pedophiles. Of course they can. They're people. Every type of person can be a pedophile. It's just stupid. What we've said is that, as far as I can tell, there's no evidence that trans people are more likely to be pedophiles than the regular population. And it seems like they're way, way less likely to be pedophiles than preachers and youth pastors, in my observation and experience. And also, there's no evidence that a single child has ever been groomed or molested at a drag queen story hour. Still, and this doesn't change that, which was my point. Which is why I continue to call out all the ridiculous fake people who are boycotting, doing bomb threats, threatening people at drag queen story hour. Because they don't actually care about any of this. There's no evidence whatsoever. No parent has ever made the claim that their child was groomed or molested because of it. No kid has ever made the claim that they were groomed or molested because of it. Yet, 3 in the last day alone from preachers. And you guys don't give a shit about that. That's my point. But nobody is saying that trans people cannot be pedophiles. Of course they can. It doesn't prove anything. But the fact that you guys are posting this everywhere when you never post all the preachers, all the other people, all the conservatives, almost always conservatives. It's like 98% conservatives.
The right wing's outrage machine is in overdrive today, trying with renewed energy to whip up anti-transgender sentiment. What's the catalyst? The arrest of a Pennsylvania woman who is charged with abusing 2 young relatives. Now, in our tabulation of people who have made the news for sex crimes with children as victims since mid-February of this year in the United States, that's when I started tracking these cases. In that tabulation, Pennsylvania ranks 4th, tied for 4th, with a total of 284 cases. Nationwide, as of midday today, we were at a total of 5,684. Pennsylvania's total so far for December alone, 46. Included in Pennsylvania's total, 4 Christian pastors, 4 Catholic priests, 8 Jehovah's Witnesses, and 3 Republican politicians, one of them arrested just yesterday, the same day that news broke of the arrest of the woman who has the right wing screeching so loudly. But you didn't hear about Grove City Councilman Sean Myers, a Republican, Darby Township Commissioner Marvin Smith, a Republican, or Anthony Joseph Dinch, Republican candidate for East Washington Council. But if you read anything in the right-wing media sphere today, you have been reading all about this woman. Because as you've probably already guessed by now, not only has she campaigned for Democrats, not only is she an appointed member of an LGBTQ+ advisory board, but Kendall Stevens is transgender. And the right wing has been pushing the narrative that transgender people are, groomers. And worse. The facts? Well, of the 5,864 people who have made the news in the United States since February for sex crimes with children as victims, the 4 transgender people represent 0.07%, or 0.07%, for those of you who like to see it in numbers. The percentage of the population in the United States that's transgender, estimated to be 1.6%. That means transgender people are making the news for these crimes at a rate not quite 1/23 of the rate that you would expect if they were evenly distributed per capita. Now, this shouldn't be taken to excuse the fact that any crime by anyone against a child has taken place. That's both horrendous and inexcusable. But what this proves, aside from the fact that the right wing will ignore absolutely any facts, anything at all, when it comes to pushing their anti-transgender narrative, what it proves is the assumption we made at the very start of this study. When people ask, well, how do you know that you're picking up all the transgender offenders? When there is even a hint of someone being transgender, the media, particularly the right-wing media will go absolutely wild, and they will not shut up.
The fact that you never post that anywhere, but when a trans person finally gets caught for pedophilia, you want to spread that everywhere. It just illustrates your bigotry even more. It doesn't prove your point. It actually proves the exact opposite of what you're trying to prove. It illustrates your hypocrisy, your transparentness. Unsurprisingly, Elon Musk immediately spread this, folks. He's never spread anything about the pedophile priest or the pedophiles in every other position. But this lady gets arrested. Breaking, prominent LGBTQ advocate Kendall Stevens arrested in Philly for raping 2 boys. Steven is male, who now identifies as a woman and has worked together with DA Larry Krasner and others to craft LGBTQ policies. And Elon's like, exclamation point! I gotta bring attention to this. This is very important. Everybody's gotta know about this. I was right to be transphobic. I was right to be a bigot, y'all. But you weren't. You're literally proving the opposite by doing this behavior, dude. You're showing yourself, not that we didn't already see you, but we see you even more now, Elon. Yikes. Don't think those advertisers are coming back. And speaking of children, Hank Kunneman got a unique take about it all.
Listen, I walk into a store and I can tell. I've had people growl at me. I've had little babies growl at me like demons. And I'm like, yeah, you know who I am and I know what's in you there, little baby boy.
Yeah, little babies, just growling demon babies. He's so pious. He's so amazing. God loves him so much. And we all know that there's demons possessing babies everywhere. They like growl at him. Hey, everybody gets growled at by children at Walmart. Children are assholes, okay? Ain't demon possessed. You ain't special. Stay away from children. And then Christianity in a nutshell, folks. This guy has a sticker on his truck that says, silly liberal, that God you don't believe in stops me from killing you. Yep, said the quiet part out loud there. Like this guy's entire family needs to stay the fuck away from him. Everybody he knows, all his friends, because if he wakes up tomorrow and suddenly starts realizing that God doesn't exist, he gonna kill all of y'all. He's a psychopath. The only thing keeping him from rape and murder is ancient fairy tales. Run very far away from this insane piece of shit. And then Christmas time, folks. So it's time for Christians to flaunt how much money they have. They're tax exempt, and their yearly pageant shows for Christmas, they're like this. They go all the out, and they're playing my theme song. I mean, I guess that's true. I guess religion is the world's greatest show. You know, it's all a make-believe to con people, so I guess you got me there. And they got all kinds of people hanging from the rafters, little drummer boys, bumping up and down, all tax exempt, all tax-free, but it is a giant show, folks. People that want to go and be entertained on Sunday and pretend like they're doing something, tax the church, and then Nick Fuentes is back, folks, and badass, super steely-eyed missile man that we're all terrified of, Nick Fuentes, has a warning to us atheists. As soon as he takes over the government, he gonna murder us all.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever.
Every day,
and more
magic.
than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty.
Bring it,
Straight
please.
up.
Straight up, bring it.
And
Menu
I'm
one-on-one,
far
Nick.
more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft, people that are suppressing the name Christ, suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated.
Bring it.
Power.
Do
This
it.
is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
All right, let's start with you, man. You want to take me out? I'm one of the most outspoken atheists this country's ever seen. You and me, Nick, one-on-one, anywhere, anytime if you're choosing. For charity, of course. For charity. There have to be cameras there. We have to sign a contract and everything. But, like, come on. Take me down. You're so tough, Nick. You're such a badass. I'm an old man. You can beat up an old man, can't you, Nick? Let's do it. Hells yeah. And then one more on tonight's religious. I guess two more. I lied. I'm a liar. But hey, that's what we do. We're atheists. Oh my God. Embarrassment, embarrassment. So do you know what one of the worst things that has ever existed is? Video games. Video games. Oh my God. You don't pay attention to your wife. Don't pay attention to your children. You just play video games. Anyway, here's a modern preacher with a modern message.
Your wife's sitting there begging for you to see her.
No, she ain't. I ain't
married. No. My guys are on Call of Duty. They don't want to see me in Madden. And your kids don't know you in real life.
If I had kids, they'd be playing the game with me, douchebag.
This is comfortable. This is how you escaped when you were 12.
That's how I escaped when I'm 50.
See, it all goes back to our trauma.
I ain't got no fucking trauma.
This is what you were good at when you weren't good at school.
I was fine at school, even though it was boring. I was fine at everything else. Talking about it's fun. You know what's not fun? Church. Church is where you go to have lots of trauma. Most of my trauma goes directly back to the church, motherfucker. Games, no trauma whatsoever. Just fun.
So you said, I'm going to put all my effort and energy. And now you're 40 years old.
50.
And you will stay up and lose sleep.
I ain't lost no sleep over.
Over playing a tournament on a game with people over the internet that you can't see.
Yeah, there you
and won't playing a date night?
Date night. Why am I playing a date night? Okay.
Cuffed to your comfort.
Oh no. No fun allowed.
Bring me some comfortable clothes. Take my shoes.
What the f you talking about? I bring my own comfortable clothes. But good Lord, just trying to make you hate your life. Trying to make you be miserable so you can spend more time in church listening to these guys shits. And last but not least, folks, I found some hilarious church fails. They may be old, but they're new to me, and therefore they are new to you. First off, Sunday worship fail.
Give yourselves a hand. Man, it is so good for us to worship Jesus together. That is so good. Man, I'm sweating. Hey, go ahead and turn to someone next to you and tell them what you're most looking forward to putting in your mouth tomorrow. Food. Oh, I didn't intend to say that.
Yeah, you did. I'm looking forward to putting in my mouth. Or definitely, that's what I'm most thankful for. Thoroughly. And then on the Christian fails.
We can proclaim to it and say, but the eve meant for evil.
Nailed it.
You turn it for our good. You turn it for our good.
Nope.
And for your glory in the midst of the storm.
Wrong, all of it. Almost like Jesus is not on your side. And one more on the old ass Christian fails.
About Lot, and we were talking about Sodom and Gomorrah, and we were talking about how Lot chose to go pinch his tits.
He did what now?
Pitch his tits.
Oh,
Pitch his tits is what I said.
Uh-huh.
And you heard nothing else here.
I heard
this
what you
is
said.
church, my God.
I definitely heard what you said. And you were right the first time. Lot literally was the one that God said was the only righteous man in Sodom and Gomorrah. God who knows everything. God who's the ultimate judge of character said this one mother and his family, the only righteous people in this whole town, go get them, take them out of that goddamn town, destroying everything except for this one mother. And then he went on to fuck his daughters. Read the book. I guess it wasn't his fault because they got him drunk first. And hey, if you're drunk, you can fuck your daughters, and it's not on you, it's on them. Okay? I don't know how many times I got drunk and I out of my family. Second cousins don't count. So there you go, folks. God knows. Best judge of character ever. And that is my religious bullshit this week. It's time for some Chud Watch.
Chud Watch.
Talking about Chud Watch. We talk about Chuds. And then you'll have this. We make fun of them. And all the cool kids say, red, black, woo. And first off, on tonight's Chud Watch. Seems bad, folks. Trump warning when he gets back into office, he's going to indemnify policemen, precincts, and cities. Cities, I got titties on the brain. Cities and states from any police brutality lawsuit. Yeah, that seems horrifying.
We're back. We're going to do something that I will say is slightly controversial, but it shouldn't be. We are going to indemnify policemen and precincts and states and cities from being sued. We want them to do their job. Our police and law enforcement has to come back, and they want to come back, and they want to do their job, and we are going to indemnify them so they don't lose their wife, their family, their pension, and their job. We are going to indemnify policemen and law enforcement, and we're going to tell them to get out. We love you. Do your job. So,
yeah, no more rules. Not that they had many anyway. I mean, they pretty much could do whatever they want to anyway, and then the taxpayers had to pay for it. But now, you thought they was killing folks before. You thought they were abusing their power before. Holy God. Even the tiny little, teeny tiny gloves they had off. Just bare knuckles in your face. Murder. Blood as high as the horse's bridle, like it says in Revelations. Guys, remember that Trump is the bravest person we've ever known. Holy God. How do we get so lucky to have a man that is ice water running through his veins? That's so badass. He will never back down from any challenge, ever, no matter what's thrown at him. If you don't believe me, just listen to his lawyer.
He is so firmly against what is happening in this court and so firmly for the old America that we know, not this America, that he will take that stand on Monday. Mm-hmm. He will open himself up to whatever they want because he's not afraid. People that are afraid cower. President Trump doesn't cower. We'll be back on Monday.
He's going to be back on Monday. He is so badass. He will not cower. Going to testify. He can't stay quiet, y'all, with all the bull they're spreading. Now, a lesser man, somebody that didn't have giant balls, a lesser man wouldn't show up, but not Trump. Take it to the bank 100%. He gonna show up and testify. Oh, what's that? Yeah, of course he didn't show up. He chickened out, announced that he wasn't gonna do it. Here's his surrender. Basically, the gist of it is, I will not be testifying on Monday. MAGA, yeah, make America great again. Brave, 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 Sir Trump. Running away as he do, but it doesn't matter. What they say doesn't matter. There's no reason to ever listen to what a conservative says, because regardless of what they say today, they can say the exact opposite tomorrow, and no one ever holds them accountable for it. No one ever points it out. Seems bad when the person who's in the lead to be the next president of the United States jokes that he is going to become a dictator. But don't worry, folks. He's just joking. He's completely joking, even though we have like Project 2025 where we know they're not joking. We know he tried to overturn the government before. We know he tried to install himself as a dictator. We know exactly what their plan is. This is not a joke in any way whatsoever, but I'm just joking. It's hilarious when he jokes about being a dictator.
Baker today in the New York Times, he said that I want to be a dictator. I didn't say that. I said I want to be a dictator for one day. Baker.
Oh, it's no big deal. Just from day one. That's what I said. I want to be a dictator from day one. And if I know anything about dictators, it's that sometimes they take dictatorial powers and then they just give them right back. They're just like, I only want to be a dictator for one day, and now I'm no longer a dictator anymore. That always happens, doesn't it? What's that now? Anyway. Trash World! Parody! Nailed it. Perfect first try. And first off on the Trash World, another day, another bomb threat for drag queen story hours. Yeah, they've been your children all over the church. But yeah, let's go target drag queen story hour. A popular restaurant and bar in Tacoma Park, Maryland, received bomb threats on Saturday morning over a drag brunch and storytime event. The restaurant, Motorcat, bills itself as a safe space for people of all orientations and backgrounds. Motorcat was forced to cancel the drag brunch to keep its patrons safe. The restaurant said in its release, those with tickets will get a full refund. Police were emailed a bomb threat toward attendees at the restaurant's drag event, and the police department and the bomb squad swiftly responded to the threat, ensuring the safety of both patrons and staff. Motorcat said, so super cool, Christians. Keep it up. You don't care anything about children. It's pretty obvious. And
NYPD's
then,
had the boot on this tow truck.
next up on Trash World, cops always think they're above the law. Here they are abusing their power in order to try to get out of paying their car bills.
PD's had the boot on this tow truck for almost 2 weeks, preventing Jose Rodriguez, pictured here, from doing his job. Ironically,
In case you missed that, the cops put a boot on his tow truck. Let's see why they did that.
his boss says he got the boot because he was doing his job. May 30th, the company, Finest Towing, was alerted that a bank wanted this car on Richmond Terrace for repossession. Rodriguez hooked it up for a tow and abruptly found out the driver is a detective at the 120th precinct across the street.
Oh God, man, can't do that.
Rodriguez's manager, Caroline DiStefano, had just authorized the tow.
He called me right back, and he didn't speak. I just heard him say, I didn't see a plaque in the window. He hung up. I knew it had to be a cop's call because I heard him say a plaque. So then he was surrounded by a couple of off-duty cops, and then they called over other cops, and he got arrested for having a stolen car when we had a repossession order for it.
The detective allegedly offered to pay Rodriguez for the 3 missed car payments, but Finest Towing says it's illegal for it to collect debt. Only the bank can do that, and only the bank can authorize a car to be released. But allegedly, police took the car off the tow truck themselves and put Rodriguez in jail for about a day.
He used his authority to drop the car himself.
DiStefano says the officers confiscated the truck's cameras, but this photo of an officer dismantling a recording device was automatically uploaded to a storage cloud.
Cool.
Rodriguez says when he was first arrested, he was charged with a felony for possession of stolen property.
That's what they do.
But then, when he appeared in court, his charges were changed to misdemeanors.
The Staten Island district attorney charges Rodriguez's truck did not display its license plate properly, and he did not have a New York City towing
don't have to
license.
have.
The city's Department of Consumer Affairs says drivers who pick up tows are required to have a Department of Consumer Affairs
But-
license, but Finest Towing and several others we spoke with argue it depends on the tow. You don't need a DCA license for repossession jobs because those are considered private, unlike for hire tows, such as when a car is disabled or in an accident. Monday on New York One, the mayor was asked about the incident.
I haven't seen the details, but if it is that kind of thing, that's unacceptable, and there would be huge consequences for those cops.
Rodriguez and his attorney won't speak on camera, but they met with the NYPD Internal Affairs Bureau last night. The NYPD declined our multiple requests for an interview.
Don't worry, folks. They're going to look into it, investigate themselves, and find they did no wrongdoing. And then Trump is going to pass a law to make sure that you can never sue them for anything they do. They could just abuse us to their heart's content. Whatever. We'll be 100% above the law. Did you guys see this one? One of the best holiday decorations I've ever seen. This is for Christmas, apparently. This genius gentleman made a holiday decoration that looks like he's trying to put his lights on, but his ladder fell out. And then, well, you know, got the cops caught on him. Too smart, too genius. So there he goes. He's like, yeah, that's going to work.
You think it's going to work?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's funny. Obviously, it's a holiday decoration. But the stupid-ass neighbors are like, oh, no, that guy's hanging up there for hours, apparently. Let's call the cops and the fire department. Yeah, your neighbors are stupid. You should move. That is dumb. They should feel bad about it. Who didn't know that was a fucking decoration? Like, anyway, maybe they just came by to look at it because it was so awesome. That's what I'm going to pretend is true. I got one Karen for you guys tonight, and it's an old Karen with an update, but it's a good update. So let's do it. It's clear you're just a mess. You should be caring less. It's obvious you're completely out of touch. 'Cause, bitch, you're caring too much. Ding! Why the fuck would I shave my head? I have a glorious head of hair. Why the fuck would I shave this motherfucker? Look at this mane. Looks like God and shit. I ain't gonna be bald again. I paid too much for this hair. First off, and only on tonight's Karens, you guys remember this epic mecha Karen? It's a male Karen, but even they are Karens. Or Darren, whatever you want to call him. I still call him Karen because I'm not sexist like you motherfuckers. Anyway, remember when he was all racist to his neighbors last year?
You know what happened to the last one?
I know what you did. You broke that window. So what the
Windows?
fuck you did?
Dude,
I don't care.
Cookie's
No.
windows got shot out with a shotgun.
I don't care.
222s to their fucking front face.
I do not care.
In Cherry Hill,
I
their
don't
fucking
care.
daughter got smashed.
Exactly. I don't
Is that
care.
what you want? No. And you want to know where I was when all this happened?
I don't care.
At work, monkey.
I don't care where you were.
At morgue.
At
Just like I told the Mount Laurel police, get these fucking monkey niggers out of here and you can't do shit. That's me talking shit.
Yeah.
3602 Gramercy Way, that's where I live. Come fucking see me.
Bad life decisions.
So you were real comfortable. So get me on video so you know what you see. Bring whoever.
Another doughy white guy has hit his dick in a couple of generations, angry about it. So tough.
Hey, White, why are you back over here?
Well, somebody called me.
Someone called you. It's private property. You have no jurisdiction here whatsoever.
I do
None.
when somebody calls me.
Hold on.
I need back up.
You know what?
Bro.
Hold on.
Back
Go ahead.
up.
No.
Back
I'm gonna
up.
let you
Right.
do your thing. Go talk to these fucking niggers. Go ahead.
Stop,
Fuck you. Go talk to the niggers. Let them know what I'm all about and what their fucking rights they have.
You know what you're all
You wanna
about.
go back to your house?
We
I'll
can
come
see
back
it.
to you.
No, I'll stand right here. It's common property.
Okay.
Have a nice night.
You guys
Brandon.
from 1101? Oh, yeah. How's it going?
I'm gonna let you guys get an education right now.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I'll do my job. Right?
No problem.
Who lives at 1101? Who called? You guys want to step in and talk, or? Okay.
I want him to go away. I don't know him. I want him to leave me alone.
I bet.
Denise, I'm not going away until your husband stops fucking finding me and threatening me while I'm at fucking work.
Cagney, cut it out, man.
Oh,
Let me
wait.
talk to them.
Arrest me.
I'm not
you
arrested right
can't.
now. Relax.
You fucking niggers.
Just cut it out, dude.
So, it started a thing. I don't know, folks, but he might be a little bit racist, just a little bit, but I'm sure nothing happened to him. He was fine. Nah, just kidding. He's in jail now. New Jersey man who went viral over racist rant, sentenced to 8 years in prison. Holy God, 8 fucking years. Talk about fucking around and finding out. A white New Jersey man who was captured in a viral video in 2021 harassing his neighbors and hurling racial slurs was sentenced Friday to 8 years in prison. Edward C. Matthews, 47, was ordered to serve at least 4 years before he is eligible for parole. In October, he pleaded guilty to 4 counts of bias, intimidation, and possession of a controlled dangerous substance with intent to distribute. The charges stem from a 2021 incident in which footage showed him repeatedly calling his neighbors the N-word and another offensive slur outside a home in Mount Laurel. Matthew heard calling his neighbors a monkey, used racial slurs in viral video. Matthews was slapped with 22 charges, as previously reported. In the wake of the racist incident, a resident filed a harassment complaint against Matthews with the Mount Laurel Police Department. That same day, police received a report about a man who needed to be removed from the area. When officers arrived, they found Matthews using racial slurs while engaging in a verbal altercation with 4 residents, a prosecutor said. Video footage that was widely circulated on social media showed Matthews yelling at a black guy. We all saw it. We all saw what he did. So, yep. Enjoy prison, you fucking dumbass. There's so much video of it, folks. Here's like another angle.
I'm harassing you. You young fucking punk. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. What are you gonna do about it? You know why? Touch him. You're gonna do nothing. Touch him. Touch him.
He's
Touch
so
him.
tough. Get
Put
back.
your hands on me again. Touch him. That's twice. Touch him. Twice. Touch him. And his name is Brandon. Vito. Fucking monkey.
So tough. I bet he ain't tough in prison. Doughy fuck ain't tough at all. I bet he's cowering in the corner of the jail cell.
You want to know why I'm going after him? I don't care. I don't give a shit. So why are you here? I don't give a shit. So why are you here? I don't give a shit. Then get the fuck out of here then. I don't give a shit. Put your hands on me one more time. Oh, you put your hands on me. Come close to me.
8 years a bit harsh. Fuck that.
Right there.
Put him under the jail.
New Jersey's back up. Come close. Back up.
He's clearly threatening them,
Back up.
talking about
Back
how
up.
other black people got their windows and shit shot out with shotguns and shit, but he was at work and it wasn't him. Clearly threatening violence against them,
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
which, you know,
Vito,
is
don't
against the
touch me.
law.
Don't touch me.
How can he not touch you?
Don't
Your
touch me.
gut hangs across
Fucking bastard.
2 parking lots.
Yeah, my parents are both dead. Yeah, what the fuck? My parents are both dead too. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Nothing. What you gonna do? Nothing. All what you do is harass all people. That's all you know how to do. These motherfuckers are taking our fucking money. I don't give a shit. Well then shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up, monkey. White monkey.
You white monkey.
You're right. Get the fuck out
That's
of here.
racist.
You
No.
can't do shit.
No. Anyway, enjoy prison. You fucking mecha Karen. And that is my Chud Watch. And hey, actually, that was Karen. Close enough. Same thing. Chud Watch, Karen. It's all the same show. And Folks, I have a patron. There's a link in the description of this video. If you click on the more right here, boom, see the more on the video you're watching right now. The very first is a link to my Patreon. And then right, if you click on it, become a member. Could you please, I beggeth you, become a member. You get exclusive access to all the quality content I produce for Patreon only. There's like a 20-minute show. After I do this show every night, there's hours upon hours of exclusive content only for you. Please support the Floating Cats and help out the world's greatest show so I can continue to do this forever and ever and ever. Amen. Thank you in advance.